It's like he wasn't even in the game, and then when it mattered the most, former Gamecock Brian Edwards last night, boom, there he was. Put on a Superman cape, and whoa. If you didn't stay up, Bill, you didn't quite make it right to the end of
I
Monday
didn't
night.
make it. I didn't make it. I got deep into the third quarter and then woke up at about 3:30 this morning to some kind of infomercial on knives.
You gonna cut through a can?
I didn't know what I was gonna do. I almost woke up, just ordered something, looked good. Didn't know who won the football game though.
Man, what a finish! And to watch it with Peyton and Eli was really cool. And Russell Wilson, by the way, just popped on the end of with Peyton and Peyton Manning and Eli. The Manning cast will give you a complete review of that. But let me walk you through exactly what happened at the end of Raiders and Ravens last night in Vegas, sold out. It was, I mean, for an old guy like me, I still call the Raiders the LA Raiders in my head. That's what I think of Bo Jackson days growing up, and that's where I came to know the Raiders organization. So that was post the original Oakland, right, and the John Madden heydays, and just kind of on the tail end of Marcus Allen's career. But to then see the Death Star that is the Vegas new stadium, John Gruden on the sideline, last night's game, Tyson Williams starting, scoring early for Baltimore as they had, three guys go down with ACL injuries, whatever it was. He ended up with 9 carries and 65 yards. It's a former Gamecock atop the depth chart. And at the end of the game, tie ball game, Ravens ball, salting away the clock. Raiders start calling timeouts less than 2 minutes. Ravens get a Justin Tucker field goal to go up 3 with about 40 seconds to go. And Raiders offense, I think to put it kindly, hadn't been in gear most of the night. It just hadn't been great. Derek Carr hadn't gotten a lot of help from his wide receivers. It did not look good. And then 2 huge catches from Brian Edwards sets up a Daniel Carlson 55-yard field goal at the end of regulation. Boom, we got overtime, right? And first possession of overtime, Raiders get it. There goes Edwards. Again, another huge catch, reaches for the end zone. Looks like it's a 32-yard touchdown. Ends up about, I think you just saw the replay, Bill, about 12 inches short, maybe 10 inches short, something like that.
Yeah, if that, it was close.
Barely knee down as Edwards is reaching out for the ball. They call it a touchdown on the field. Vegas is going absolutely nuts. That you got Lamar Jackson on the field. I think maybe with Derek Carr, they're doing the old high five, good games. Looks like they're ready to change jerseys or something. Then the refs have to say, oh, nope, Edwards just short. Got to get back on the field. Eli Manning, sneaky good last night. Like, Peyton is the star of the show and the much stronger personality in the whole thing. But Eli's like, don't go hard count. Just get up there, go on one. They sneak it on the first play, don't get in. Second play, they get cute, the Raiders do, and try to go hard count. And their rookie offensive lineman from Alabama, Alex Leatherwood, jumps. So they move back to the. They get cute again and try to throw it. Derek Carr dings one right off of a helmet from the Baltimore defender, right into the arms of another one. Oh, devastating. Devastating. They give it back. Then the Ravens can't go. The Ravens try to go somewhere. Lamar tries to make the play, fumble. Then the Raiders try to get cute again. We try to run one play, then try to kick it on second down, except their field goal kicker didn't know. So they're going to get a delay of game penalty because they're out of timeouts. Now that moves them back 5 yards. So what would have been, I think, maybe a 45-yard field goal on second down in overtime to win it turns into a 50-ish yarder. So they say, offense, get back out there. Ravens are coming on a blitz. Derek Carr sees it from a mile away, just chucks it straight up in the air as a couple of Ravens defenders, I think, run into each other. That's the Zay Jones walk-off touchdown in overtime. Monday Night Football classic that I'm glad I stayed up to almost midnight for and make that stuff up, Bill, to end. week one in the NFL.
Yeah, it was. I got into the Manning. I started on the regular telecast. Got home from Austin soccer practice and started in on the regular telecast, and so was kind of scrolling through Twitter, catching up on the evening stuff, reading a little bit about the Clay Helton situation at Southern Cal, and started seeing more and more people discussing the Manning cast with Peyton. I guess they were in studios. Is that the way you saw that? Is that they were?
Yeah, I would guess that ESPN probably built these onto their houses, their respective houses. But yeah, they looked like they were in relatively professional TV studio setups.
Yeah,
I don't know what it was. I didn't get those details.
Yeah, there was a picture I saw of Peyton Manning, and there was monstrous TVs, like just a huge wall, almost looked like a movie theater style wall in front of him. And it looked like there was 4 or 5 TVs, but it didn't look like it was like his basement setup, because the way the lighting was kind of in the ceiling and everything. Like you said, maybe that's a good point. Maybe they built it onto their house. I don't know, but the way they were set up there was kind of interesting. And so I flipped over and did catch that. And it was, I think when I flipped over was the end of maybe the first quarter, and Charles Barkley was on with them. And at that point, they were cutting up, saying Charles's agent said that he could only stay on for the first quarter because he needed to go eat somewhere. And they were cutting up about that. But very interesting, different way. It really was actually a different way of kind of watching it. And listening to them, to Peyton and Eli kind of talk. And really, I thought it would be more, I guess, funny, cut up. I mean, they were kind of making some jokes. But you're right, the level of insight that they were getting into during the game and talking about certain aspects of the game. I think the part that I really came into was when they were talking about numbers for defensive players, and how that they would try to, how they, the quarterbacks, would go to the line of scrimmage, and how they would go to account for the number of people in the box and what positions they were by just looking at numbers. And I think it was Peyton who was saying that Tom Brady hates that now a linebacker can be number 6. And Eli's like, yeah, I don't get that. Like, it's a linebacker. You know he's a linebacker. You just look over there and it's a linebacker. That's exactly what he is. And just kind of entertaining and interesting to hear their perspective on football, and hear them talk a little bit about practice. There was a particular play, Peyton Manning, I thought was really funny. I think it was a touchdown pass, maybe in the second quarter, where Lamar Jackson backed up, came forward, backed up. Looked like something you do on PlayStation. Backed up, came forward, backed up again, went to his right, rolled out and threw it. Peyton Manning goes, I'd have thrown that ball away 3 times by then. I couldn't do anything like that. So it was actually, if you didn't get to see it last night, and you liked listening to like the technical aspect of someone breaking down a game, from that standpoint, it was actually really interesting.
Well, to me, that's what carried the show. It is so clear how much they love football. Like a lot, Peyton Manning couldn't watch plays without like getting emotionally attached. So either frustrated one way or excited another way. Like, just watching him watch the game, to me, was pretty fascinating. Kind of carried the show. It was an adjustment to try to get used to it. I thought the gnat sound from the game, like the sounds of the actual game on the field, were a little too high, and made it a little bit difficult to hear, especially when they had guests, because the guests there are all kinds of guests. I didn't see the Barkley part. I turned it on a little bit later. I caught a little bit of Ray Lewis, a little bit of Travis Kelce, and then Russell Wilson was on at the end. But these guys weren't necessarily like professionally mic'd up. It looks like more of like our live cast we have on Bill, but they might be in front of a computer. They might have on some kind of little headset. But once I got adjusted to that, I felt like I had to like tune into it, like tune into that frequency. And it took a little adjustment for me, being an old dude. And I like my games pretty simple, right? You know, they've done the mega cast forever, I feel like, in college football for the national championship game. But I have checked out those other alternate ways to watch it, but I've always settled back to the original broadcast. Like, I just want to watch the game, man. Felt like I've just been distracted by those other attempts to, I don't know, spice it up or to draw in other viewers. But this one was different because of the personalities. Because weirdly, I feel like I know Peyton and Eli. I obviously don't know them, but just because growing up watching them both in college and in the NFL, and just how wide exposure they've gotten through all kinds of stuff and hosting Saturday Night Live and doing commercials and the whole thing. I felt like I have a good sense of who they are, and like I was just hanging out with them to some degree, and then they're all their celebrity friends and the whole thing. It's the love of football that stood out to me, why I would watch it again, why I'd recommend it, just because I learned so many different little things like you were talking about. And the one that really stuck out to me is when they had Ray Lewis on, and Eli Manning was talking about being a rookie playing against the Ravens back then, and he's trying to call out the Mike linebacker. He says 52 is the Mike, and Ray Lewis is on the other side yelling back at him, "I'm not the Mike. He's the Mike over here." And then Ed Reed comes up. He's like, "Hey, man, I want to be the Mike." It's a great story. I don't know how true it is, but I'm sure Eli's told it a million times. But then he also likes to point out that he had a 0.0 quarterback rating in that game. It's stuff like that was really fascinating to me. And then just watching them watch this epic game, because it was as epic a finish as you can get. And then especially from the former Gamecock perspective, Brian Edwards coming up as clutch as possible. All 4 of his catches in the game coming in the final seconds of regulation and then in overtime, and played a huge role in the Raiders getting that win, though.
It was just to finish thoughts on the Manning cast there. There were moments of levity where they were kind of funny. I have watched a couple of those roundtable discussions they have during the national championship games where you get on the coach, and it seems a little discombobulated. And you got coaches who want to interject and weigh in and say this. I did think that this was cleaner, and maybe even to a lesser extent, maybe almost a little slow and a little kind of dull at times. But as you settled in and saw what they were trying to do, I thought that was actually pretty interesting the way they went about doing it. So yeah, I encourage you, if you didn't get a chance to watch it, if you didn't, they'll do it again. They're showing replays now as I look at Sports Center, some of the stuff that I actually missed. But yeah, I caught the Ray Lewis thing. They were making fun of Eli Manning for being 4 of 18 in that game, 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. And again, but just them talking about personal experiences, Ray Lewis talking about how much film he started watching, and then they started joking about the television cameras picking up on the cadences of Peyton Manning, and Ray Lewis admitting, that I would watch the game and listen to your cadences to try and be better prepared for you or other quarterbacks. So just if you like the intricate details of football, and maybe the regular broadcast isn't for you, but you like hearing actual breakdown of what's going on, I think it's something that a lot of people would probably get into. I think they're scheduled to do 9 more of these after. I don't think it's an every week thing. And I'm not sure if it's going to be on ESPN2 or if it's going to be on ESPN Plus. I think there's some things here where they're going to try and move it to ESPN Plus. But again, it's well worth watching a quarter or a half there of this, just especially if you really get into the intricate side of football, especially the NFL. They were talking about practice and how they kind of go through some of the practices and work on stuff. So again, really interesting to hear and watch.
Dan hooks us up on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line at 803-404-6100 with the info that last night both Mannings were in New York, but for most Mondays this season, Peyton Manning will be at a friend's warehouse in Denver that they've hooked up to be a TV studio, and then Eli will be in his house in New Jersey, where they've also built a studio for him, or at least got a setup for him to do this thing. That Monday Night Football game was a fun one to watch, Neil says. It was also cool to see so many players that are familiar to college football fans. Craig says Edwards got called for a brutal pass interference play. Yeah, it was a pick play, but, I mean, Edwards sold it. These wide receivers have gotten really good at this. They realize what will get called and what won't, and Edwards definitely did not go out of his way to get in the other guy's way, but did, and didn't get the benefit of the doubt of the call. That was, I think, maybe third quarter or so. He also drew a defensive pass interference before making his first catch of the game, which I believe was yeah, it definitely was there in the final seconds of regulation. 2 straight catches that set up that game-tying field goal to force overtime. Had a big catch to start the overtime period. All hands kind of thrown behind him to pick up a first down, and then the play that was almost a walk-off touchdown the first time. That was about 6-8 inches short, maybe, that set up the just crushing interception. And I thought that's how it was going to go down, that John Gruden got too cute and the Raiders comeback was going to be all for nothing, and there was going to be a lot of upset people out there in Vegas. But then the Lamar Jackson fumble, and Vegas ends up getting a win there, the walk-off win, where it was another weird play that you never see in the NFL, where it looks like the Ravens defenders kind of give up halfway through the thing, and it was chaos in a lot of ways, and it was fantastic to watch. Week 1 in the NFL in the books. We'll continue to break that down. Plenty to discuss that we never even got to yesterday, or certainly worth reviewing a little bit more from the Gamecocks' 3-point win against East Carolina to start the season. Kirby Smart had his weekly press conference, plenty of Gamecock connections and specifics he was asked about. We'll get to some of his comments as well this morning, and love to hear from you. Again, the number to weigh in, you can call the Love Chevy phone lines at 803-404-6100 or text us at that same number on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line, 404-6100. Up and rolling on the video stream, sponsored by Beaufort Lending as well. Facebook, YouTube Live. Good to see everybody up with us so far this morning. LeVar, DC, Craig, Trey, Steven, Lester, Chris. I guess that's a grown man, we're supposed to say. Grown man Williams, I think is what he's going on with this morning. Okay, welcome. We've seen some new names in there, some new faces. Love to have you guys along for the show. Let's see where it takes us. Just getting going here. It's the early game. It's 107.5 The Game. Yeah, I almost fell asleep watching Kirby Smart's press conference about mid fourth quarter, but that got me to it.
Kirby Smart is known as the enthusiasm that can get you through late at night.
What was that, Jen? You're on mute there.
What's she doing out here? Shepherd's glass.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had soccer. I was tired. It was a long day. Monday and Wednesdays are going to be long days. Soccer from 6 to 7:30, and then get home and try and eat a little bit. I'm gonna have to start doing some meal prep. Otherwise, I'm gonna become a little chunky. Yesterday was not a good health day eating wise.
And those practice nights can be tough for sure.
Yeah.
And it's just beginning, sir.
Just beginning, yeah.
Well, Texas is changing starting quarterbacks.
I didn't see that. Hudson Card is out. What in the world was that?
Commercial on this article here. Yeah, Casey Thompson, the dude's name is replacing him.
I did go back and rewatch some of the South Carolina game yesterday. Some interesting stuff on that offensive line. Steven, I think it's gone down to 30. Let's see. Circa Sports is the one who opened it. Let's see if they have a specific website that's not just about their sports book, but shows their lines. He told me that it was $45 just to get into this sports book.
Yes, Jimmy, we sure have. Morning, Anthony.
Menu and odds. Our menu and odds. Well, that's a strange way to. Okay. Okay. Let's just see if they've got. Betting menu and odds. That's actually pretty funny. All right, when did this tweet come out? Let's see here. It said biggest line movements. This was yesterday at 4 o'clock. It said biggest line movements. Liberty went from a 23 to 28 point favorite. I don't really think Liberty's playing. Arkansas went from 18 to 23. Colorado went from +3 to -1.5. South Carolina's not on there, so I won't read all of them. Texas A&M went by 3. Let's see. As of 4 o'clock yesterday, it was down to Georgia at 31. The over-under had moved by 4 points down to 48. That's kind of interesting. 4.5 points. 52.5 to 48. Huh. What was Liberty is against Old Dominion. Alabama's a 15.5 point favorite against Florida. Clemson hung in there. They're still Clemson's went down a point. They're a 28 point favorite. This is again 4 o'clock yesterday.
15.5 is the line with Bama and Florida.
Yeah.
Read an interesting article, I think it was Sports Illustrated that did it, Ross Dellinger, maybe about the hiring. Dan Mullen.
Yeah, I saw that yesterday about it was more really about is it Strickland? Is Strickland?
Yeah, Scott Strickland.
Scott Strickland. Steve, yes, not Steve Strickland or anyway. It seemed to be more about him and just the internal conflict he had.
Yeah, and Chip Kelly involved in that heavily.
Yeah. It's a good. I'm going to the beach this weekend, and really from the standpoint of like not missing great football, I feel like I picked a great weekend to go to the beach.
Jen, can we come back with that Kirby that you've already cut, the Q&A one? Thank you. And I hear you that Lucas is on the line.
Yeah, I didn't read it yesterday. I got tied up. I just happened to see it scroll across about Jacksonville, DC, bringing up Southern Cal, that there's already obviously a very rocky start to Urban Meyer in Jacksonville, that he might be looking to bolt to Southern Cal.
Yeah, it's that. I think, Blake. It's Urban, and then it's everybody else right now, I think.
Urban, Matt Campbell. Is the shine worn off PJ Fleck?
Kirby Smart, yesterday's weekly press conference from Georgia elicits a smirk from Bill Gunter as you listen to it, Bill. Smart was asked about Will Muschamp being on the staff now and the whole thing. He's like, yeah, you guys like to write about that kind of stuff, but I mean, we know the heights and weights of those players. We got the tape, so it's not really an advantage at all to have their coach from last year on our staff now. Just listening to Kirby Smart right there makes me appreciative that it's a new regime for South Carolina football and moving on, because it is like pulling teeth, I feel like, with Kirby Smart and the classic Nick Saban model and not wanting to give anything away and the whole deal. Not exactly illuminating yesterday in his weekly press conference, but did mention Luke Doty getting the start against them last year and what he presents. Also said, old Zeb Nolan, he's friends with his dad for a while, the high school coach in the state of Georgia, and was happy to see what Zeb Nolan's been doing. So the plenty of connections. I obviously asked about Shane Beamer and his time at Georgia and if he had any kind of head coaching traits then. He said yes, and he's known Shane forever. I guess their families have vacationed for a long, long time. So I just feel like we get so little of the full picture from not just Kirby Smart, but most college football coaches in this position. I come away from a press conference just saying, oh yeah, he didn't get as much. Not much at all. And I would love to hear his real thoughts, ponied up to the bar on a couple of beers at some point. But we're just getting so little of the actual whole truth in there. It kind of it just leaves me feeling a little hollow coming out of a press conference like that, Bill. And it reminded me of multiple weekly press conferences in the last 5 years or so. But that's kind of my own personal baggage here as we move on from the Will Muschamp era. And I'm thinking, Bill, I mentioned cathartic was game number one. I've used that word several times about that Eastern Illinois 46-0 win. I'm thinking this will have its own kind of catharsis for Gamecock fans, seeing Will Muschamp on the sideline in Athens, maybe being able to completely close the Muschamp book and move on and not even look back in the rearview mirror in a lot of ways with the Shane Beamer era moving forward this week. What are your thoughts? Close. Other news from yesterday, Gamecocks and Kentucky set for 7 p.m. Bill, I assume you're a fan of that, or you're keeping the unofficial stat of how many night games in a row this series has gone now? I know that was a day game, but you're talking about the day that Connor Shaw just completely lit up Kentucky in his first career start without Steven Garcia being part of the program.
Around all day for a big game, and we'll see. We'll see if that's something next week that matters. But certainly, from a atmosphere type standpoint, from a recruiting standpoint, next weekend South Carolina is going to have two big time official visitors on campus. Antonio Williams, the wide receiver from right here at Dutch Fork, who is a massive priority for South Carolina, and then Jamari Lyons, a 6'5", 295-pound defensive tackle out of Florida, who's kind of between Florida and South Carolina. You'll have those two guys on campus, plus a whole bunch of other recruits that are coming in for official visit. From that standpoint, yeah, that's, you want the night game, you want the people who've been tailgating all day, and the atmosphere and the environment that comes along with it. So my old man opinion really doesn't matter on that, does it?
It matters, Bill. It might not matter.
Might not matter to anybody else, just me.
Chris says he'd rather go to night games. And one other piece of news yesterday, or I guess a couple of more. Parker White named co-special teams player of the week in the SEC after nailing a couple of field goals, including the game winner. Todd Ellis, I watched the coach's show yesterday from Learfield Sports. He mentioned 6th field goal in Parker White's career in the final few seconds there to give Carolina the lead. Just clutch. I think we take him for granted as a super senior that's been around forever, also battling an injury a bit, and not 100% healthy, but battling right through that, and good for Parker White. The other piece of news yesterday that does have a Carolina impact is Texas A&M quarterback Haynes King out 4 to 7 weeks with, I think it's a crack in the bone. I saw it listed as a fractured ankle as well. Well, that timeline leads right up to that October 23rd matchup between the Gamecocks and Texas A&M, who looked like a completely different team without Haynes King at quarterback against Colorado, struggling to score their only touchdown in the fourth quarter to survive with the 10-7 win over the weekend. Wanted to get out to the Love Chevy phone lines now. Our buddy Gamecock Lucas waiting to weigh in this morning. Knowing all this information, Lucas, where would you like to start, sir? Okay, let's hear it. Wow, impressive life. Lucas is the most interesting man on this program, and it's not even close. Appreciate the phone call, Lucas. Go get to school, man. Go have a good day at school. 12-year-old Lucas, ladies and gentlemen. Bill, it brings up a good point when he was talking about what the Gamecocks will score there. I think that might be a conversation that continues to evolve throughout the week, because coming off the 2017 win against East Carolina, obviously Vegas doesn't think much of the Gamecocks going into this game, opening the line at 32 and a half, whatever it was. And I think you told us it's down to 30 this morning. A little bit of movement in the Gamecocks direction. But with that massive line, and I saw on social media, maybe someone hit us up or on the text line yesterday, they can't remember a larger line. Can you? In a Carolina game where Carolina's on the other end of it, obviously Carolina's favored by more than 40 going into the Eastern Illinois game just a couple of weeks ago. But the Gamecocks being underdogs, Clemson was 27. I think the texter or maybe it was a tweet that got sent my way pointed out the other day. Can you remember a larger line from an underdog perspective for the Gamecocks?
No, not off the top of my head. Again, we talked about it, Clemson. I don't know what they were at the end of last year when it was South Carolina, Georgia, but I know that Clemson has been mid to high 20s the last few years. But other than that, I don't exactly remember anything into the 30s. And it's dropped. We'll see where it ends up around game time. It's like I said, it's down to 31 now. Does it creep under that 30 number? The fact that the over under dropped significantly, I do find a little interesting. But we'll see. And no, I'm pretty sure that's about as high as the number as it's been. So.
But my question, kind of out of all of that, is then what's a realistic expectation? How can you feel good about that game, assuming you don't get a massive upset like happened a couple of years ago? I'm not ruling that possibility out. I'm just trying to look at it a little bit more realistically, kind of how Lucas was saying, hey, I think they'll score a touchdown and a field goal, and that'll be kind of that.
Yeah, I think there is a lot you can take away from this game and feel pretty positive about it. If your defense goes out and really gives you a chance for 2.5, 3 quarters, or even 4 quarters, if your defense goes out, I mean, if South Carolina's offense can't move the ball and your defense, I'll go back to that Texas A&M game a couple of years ago, where I think going into 2 years ago when I was out there in College Station, where I think going into the fourth quarter it was something like 13-3, and South Carolina the defense had kept them in that ball game, and then because they had been on the field so much, things kind of collapsed. But you went back and you looked at that game and said, man, for 3 quarters. The defense kind of did their job. I think there are things like that where if the defense goes out and really competes, is able to kind of somewhat limit the run, is able to get pressure, if that defensive line is really kind of giving Georgia some problems up front, I think you come out of that going, yeah, hey, we can compete with anybody we have left on the schedule. And you're right, that information that you just brought up about Texas A&M and Haynes King, we'll see how they continue to develop under the backup quarterback. But I think that's something. If South Carolina lines up, it was interesting. We'll get maybe a little bit more into this in the next hour. Rewatched the game yesterday, and watching some of the issues with the offensive line is both concerning, and then it maybe you become a little bit more optimistic because they did make changes. They did make changes in the second half to generate a run game. Now, I'll be very interested to see if they stick with those changes this coming weekend, because if Georgia uses the same game plan that Eastern Illinois and East Carolina did, then running up the middle will not work. And that's exactly what East Carolina and Eastern Illinois have done, where it's basically they've made it a 5-on-3 situation with defensive linemen and linebackers going against the interior of the offensive line. But I do think if the offense comes out, Tim, and you see 2, even if it results in field goals, 2 or 3 drives where South Carolina's offensive line looks like they're getting it going, and there's some continuity, and you see some creativeness. I do think that even if you lose by 3-4 touchdowns, there are things you can take away from this that you feel good going through the rest of the season. I don't know if I'm ready to agree with Patrick just yet, but I do feel like this Georgia team, I'm really impressed that they were able to put it together last week off of that Clemson game and blow out UAB in the manner that they did. I feel like the previous Georgia teams we've seen would have a big letdown there, wouldn't cover a 26-point spread.
No, they did it with their backup quarterback, JT Daniels, still recovering from that oblique injury. No real information coming out of Kirby Smart's press conference yesterday. Continue to let you hear a little bit from the Georgia coach as we roll on. Neil on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. Scoring a touchdown would be a win for the Gamecocks. At least you could rub that in Clemson fans' faces. I'm guessing he's not alone in thinking that. 803-404-6100. If you would like to join the show, you can call or text. It's the early game. It's 107.5 The Game.
Yeah, I've seen some of you start to get upset when people mention Christmas. I know we have not even gotten to Halloween, and some of you are already upset. But let's be honest, you got to start thinking ahead a little bit, and not just for the family, but you got to start thinking about yourself. Maybe you're due for a nice Christmas present this year. Maybe a brand new car. I mean, shoot, you deserve it. It's been a long year. Why wouldn't for Christmas you reward yourself with a brand new Chevy Silverado, maybe a Tahoe, maybe a Mustang, something like that? There's so many great options out there. There's a lot of great deals, and you can go visit Love Chevrolet I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park to check out all the great deals right now that are available out there at Love Chevrolet I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. Get out there today and check out whether it's the $1,000 low price guarantee or the incredible sales staff. You're not going to miss a beat. You're going to get the greatest deal possible. You're going to get the best sales staff available. I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, or on the web, lovechevy.com. Again, you can go visit them. You can go shop other dealerships. Then you can take their deal back to the folks at Love Chevrolet, and they will top it, or they'll write you a check for $1,000. Hasn't happened yet. Won't happen anytime soon. You can also check out that great sales staff. Maybe you need to get your car serviced. Again, it's a one-stop shop. I go out there frequently, get my car serviced, hang around with that sales staff. You need to do the same. I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, or on the web, lovechevy.com. Get out to Love Chevrolet and find new roads.
Jim, thanks for looking up that Edwards catch.
Easy enough.
I plan on starting the next hour with that.
Okay.
And Bill, don't forget we got Perry at 7:30 this morning.
Oh, okay. That's right.
Send him a link right now. See if he wants to do the video thing. I can tell. Perry makes me feel old. He's the first person I've ever had on my phone when I text him, a logo pops up beside his name. The QB1 Athletics logo pops up.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Big time.
Billy, you look like you need to be fired up.
Soccer takes it out of him, man.
No, I was looking at this waste management bagster, this huge bagster that they've got.
Oh, is it that big green bag?
Yeah, only reason I was looking at this for the parking lot, I was wondering if I could use that. Is I'm always looking for something that makes trash cleanup on Sunday a little bit easier.
And then they'll pick it up. You don't have, I mean, you could set it up that way, or you could just keep reusing the bag. It used to be anyway, where if you used that thing, you bought it, and then you could either take it to a waste management or they would pick it up. But I have bought the bag before and just used it.
Yeah, I'm just looking for something, like I said, that would make it easier on us trying to clean
Absolutely.
up.
You want to know about trash? Just talk to me.
I know you're joking slightly, but I actually one morning right after the show when I come back, I might have to get you to follow me out to the parking lot and just like offer your own suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like right now we just go out and take a trailer out there and load it back up, but
Yeah, there could be an easier way.
if I lived downtown, that wouldn't be awful, but driving all the way down there on a Sunday morning after being at a 7:00 game.
Yeah, not good. All right, guys, we're up.
The Gamecocks plus 30, the lock of the week. There won't be a 30-point total, according to Kaiser on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. That's also my expectations, he says. Hold them under 30. We might have a chance. Hold them under 30. He's not the only one there. Joker says, am I the only one who thinks Carolina's defense will put points on the board? They've done it the first couple of weeks, doing it against Georgia. Doing it against Georgia will be a little different, but we've certainly seen that happen for the Gamecocks in Athens multiple times, especially the last game, the pick six by Israel Mukwama, the massive play there. I was thinking about the Jadeveon Clowney sack that led to a Melvin Ingram scoop and score. What was that, back in 2011, I think? The freshman season of Jadeveon Clowney, when that thing was a shootout and Carolina ended up with more points on the board in that ball game, I believe, in Athens. Todd says, without looking at the scoreboard, if Carolina can go out, limit their turnovers, limit the penalties, play very good on special teams, give great effort on offense and defense, and follow the game plan, that's all they can expect. Athletically, they'll be outmatched, so they need to come in with a lot of heart, a lot of extra effort, and just like last week, keep your head up because you never know what might happen. And then Todd has to add, roll Tide at the end, of course.
I feel like this, thank goodness we've made it through almost 4 hours of our program without the old, they got nothing to lose. They need to let it all hang out on offense kind of mentality. Like, isn't that what you always say for this game? Look, I am, again, there's a lot we can learn this week. And I think offensively, one of the things we'll learn is Marcus Satterfield is a play caller. There have been some things that have worked with him, and the outside run game, the outside zone runs is what paid off last week when South Carolina went to the exterior and tried to.
Wait a second. Are you stealing Richard's text there? He said if we do more of that stretch zone blocking with two tight ends set and let the running backs pick a hole and the defense plays up to par this game, we'll be in the 20s and we'll stand a chance. Did you just steal his take?
I didn't read it yet, but me and him are – he's on the
Same
same page. Like that guy. Good text this morning. I'm with him.
Richard.
Rewatched the game yesterday. It was interesting.
Richard's whole world just got turned upside down knowing that you guys are on the same page now.
Bad start to the day for him.
Great for Brian Edwards last night, or great finish, I'd say. He wakes up with a great start today. Classic Monday Night Football with the Manning cast involved. We'll start with that as we start hour number 3 in a couple of minutes, get into plenty more Carolina Georgia talk with the weekly presser of Kirby Smart scintillating yesterday. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. Run real quick and say good morning to my kids.
Okay, when you come back, I'm going to get more coffee.
Oh boy, I haven't heard anything from Patrick this morning.
Yeah, he might be overly grumpy. Just figured he'd keep his grumpiness out. Who knows? So how many coffee mugs, cups is an appropriate number to have in your house? 10, 12? Two of us drink coffee. So I think the big question becomes what's the appropriate number? Because I feel like I definitely need to do the dishes here when the show ends. I'm also glad Tim has not complained that I've turned the computer around and stopped showcasing the sun rising. I can look at it from here. stream of thoughts coming here. I'm also wondering, is Black Friday the best time to buy a television?
I would have thought Labor Day wouldn't have been bad, but I bet there's going to be some. I'm sure there are going to be some things, because then there's Cyber Monday, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, where if you want to just shop online.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't get to enjoy. I enjoy all of them, but I don't get to relax like I did this past weekend for a football Saturday again until October 30th when there's a bye week.
Yep.
And then the next time I get to sit and not do anything, or at least relax a little bit for a South Carolina weekend, is November 13th, and then that's it. This weekend I'm taking the kids to the beach, and that'll be fun, but
yeah, not totally relaxing.
yeah. And then next weekend's a home game, and then the following weekend's a home game, and then the 9th going back out of town. The 16th is a home game. The 23rd, I'm going to Vegas. The 30th is going to Cherry Grove, Craig, or North High. Very, very, Cherry Grove, basically. It's on Ocean Drive. My daughter's birthday was last Friday, and she was with her mom. So we're gonna go to the beach this weekend. We always try to go to the beach. Last beach trip of the year.
There you go.
Leave right after the show on Friday and get down there about 1:00 and hang out all day. Maybe do something Friday night. Maybe Friday night go putt. They're kind of getting to that age where you can take them out a little bit at night now. Besides just go get ice cream, go to putt or go do
do shots at the bar. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. I make them sit at the table while I go to the bar and do shots.
Oh, okay.
And then I turn around and toast them.
Isn't that nice? How sweet. You're a good dad. I
am. I'm trying to remember the name of that. It's right across the street from Ashworth. That is the one thing. The Ashworth is the name of the condominium we stay at. This is a big old condo with 4 bedrooms. There's a good little seafood place. I got a picture on my phone. But there's a good little seafood place. We might need to try something different this year.
Get out of the routine.
Yeah, mix it up. Throw a little curveball in there.
That's right.
Just a little curveball action.
Yeah, we're driving up to Illinois for the weekend. That's why I'm out Thursday and Friday.
Oh, really?
Family thing for Darren's family. I kept saying I wasn't going to go. Just because I've been trying to kind of hold on to days, but I finally caved and was like, yeah, I guess I should be a good person and go. So we're doing a houseboat thing.
Hamburger Joe's, Waddy?
Hamburger Joe's?
Hamburger Joe's. Surfside. That's in Surfside. That's like there is one in North Myrtle Beach.
So another seafood place.
Another seafood place. Oh, I see. Okay, it's just down from Alligator Adventure.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, they're kind of at that age. I've taken them down there. I take them down there a good bit because we've got some connections and some deals. And I did want to I wanted to go to Wild Dunes this weekend, but it was $1,000 for like a 3-bedroom condo for the weekend in Wild Dunes.
They're welcome to keep that.
A junior suite. We got to be back by 4:30 Sunday for a soccer game.
You are correct, Craig. especially for a short stint.
Hmm.
I'm trying to be a good person. Alcohol may be involved to get me through the weekend, just saying. All right, back to come back in.
I'm coming back. Getting coffee.
So relieved. Do you want that Edwards off the top?
Yes, please. Thank you. Morning, Alan.
Everybody bunched up on that defensive line. Shotgun snap. They rush it. Here comes the blitz. He throws it away in a back pedal down the far sideline. Back pedaling catch. Waller at the 10. Back pedals down the sideline. Touchdown, Raiders! Bryan Edwards with the reception of 33 yards.
Hi.
Their first lead all night.
Kevin Harlan on the call last night on Westwood One. You heard it right here on 107.5 The Game. Actually turned out to be a 32.5-yard play for Bryan Edwards, the former Gamecock, coming up massive for the Las Vegas Raiders. First of all, his first two catches of the night happened at the end of regulation, helped to set up a 55-yard game-time field goal to send it into overtime. One of the first plays in overtime makes a big catch to get the drive going, and then it ended up with that, which looked like a walk-off touchdown at the time, ended up being overruled on replay about 6 to 8 inches short. First play, Raiders try to sneak it in. Doesn't work. Second play, I'm watching the Manning cast last night, Bill, and Eli, he's sneaky good, man. He says, don't go hard count, go on one. The Raiders went hard count. And their rookie offensive lineman from Alabama, Alex Leatherwood, jumps, so they get pushed back to the 6-yard line. They try to get cute and throw it in the end zone right off the Ravens' helmet. Intercepted. They get nothing out of that drive in overtime. Ravens get the ball. Fortunately for the Raiders, they force a Lamar Jackson fumble, and that sets up the eventual game-winning touchdown, which was a cluster in and of itself as well, as they tried to bring out the field goal team on second down. Somebody forgot to tell the kicker. So they got a delay game penalty. They had to bring the offense back out. The Ravens were probably just as confused and ended up with a miscommunication on defense and get the walk-off touchdown from Zay Jones anyway, former East Carolina wide receiver. Plenty of Carolina connections last night, and Bryan Edwards really the star for the Raiders late in the ball game. Monday Night Football, as good as I can remember it being in a long, long time, Bill, and the Peyton and Eli broadcast was a big reason why. I think you caught it a little bit before I did. You said with Charles Barkley popping on there and the whole thing. 1 through 10, what do you give the Manning cast, as they call
it? 8. I give it an 8. It was different. There wasn't the energy. There wasn't the energy, but again, just the way they see the game and the way they talked about it made it, and how informative it was. To hear it through their eyes is what made it so interesting, and why I would give it an 8. I'll be honest, I really was actually not paying a lot of attention to the game itself. I was listening more to them. So, but I'd give it an 8. I will definitely watch. I don't know if they're doing it again this week for the thriller that should be the Lions and the Packers, but I'll definitely, when it's on, I will probably flip to that more times than I will to the actual ESPN broadcast.
Because I think you and I were both the same. We started on the original broadcast, right? And we realized, hey, that Manning cast thing is on. Let's check that out. The first time I did it, I watched for maybe a minute, and then they went to commercial, and it was like they didn't tell anybody. And so they were just still talking to Ray Lewis and boom, just commercial happens. I'm like, being a traditional TV guy, and I don't know if you noticed, but that's pretty much about 75% of my job on this show is going to commercial break. So coming from that perspective, I was like, oh, they don't even care to tell them. If they don't even respect the show, I can't watch this thing. This is chaos. I'm not watching it. And then about an hour later, the game starts to get better. I'm like, yeah, I'll check it out one more time. And it took some getting used to. And it's not anything close to traditional television, but the passion that Peyton Manning has for football, and Eli has it too, just in kind of a different way. And all the knowledge they have was enough to keep me engaged. And then they have, some of these stories they had on with Travis Kelce basically admitting, yeah, he'll just give a look over to his quarterback there. And then Patrick Mahomes knows he's just going to make some stuff up and then go get open and the whole thing. And Eli was like, I knew it. I knew you couldn't have drone that route up. That wasn't planned at all. So just to hear like exchanges like that, Russell Wilson was on with them at the end and was pretty interested in hearing how he and Peyton and Eli all kind of see the game differently, but on a massively high level. That to me was really interesting. And I'm with you. I would go 8 or 9 somewhere in there. Perspective. Jen, did you catch any of it at all?
There was the part where he put on the Ravens helmet and then they started to do the analysis and whatever, and they're like, "What are you saying?" Because it was almost like gibberish or Greek. It's like, well, he canned about you. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then Eli, of course, made fun of him because of his the helmet didn't fit on his head. And he's like, of course it didn't fit on that massive forehead. And then he said to Ray Lewis, "What would you rather have, $10,000 or that helmet full of quarters?" And then Ray Lewis said, "I'd rather have 10,000 quarters in that helmet." I was like, wait a second, Ray. He said, oh, that doesn't work. But that's all part of it was kind of controlled chaos. I liked it. And Bill, like you kind of mentioned with Lions and Packers not necessarily being a scintillating national matchup, well, Monday Night Football just has kind of gotten a leftover spot from a matchup perspective compared to Thursday night games or certainly the Sunday flex games. And that's when especially I would tune into this thing in the future just to kind of keep my attention a lot more than just the traditional game on Monday night and what Monday Night Football's turned into.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this kind of develops throughout the year. I mean, I think if you want to watch a Monday night game, maybe you're not completely involved in some of the teams playing, but if you just want to watch it from a different perspective and hear a different way of watching a broadcast, I think it's worth checking out for a game or half a game, because it is Peyton Manning and Eli. I do want to watch it. It looks pretty good. I think it's on ESPN Plus. I'll have to see if I can pull it up here. You got the Peyton's Places, where he kind of does more of the NFL kind of show where he goes and visits with NFL people. Eli's doing, I think it's called Eli's Back to School or something similar to that, but he's doing more college. Looks like there's an episode where he goes and hangs out with Nick Saban, and Nick Saban's towing him around the lake on his boat, and they're rafting or tubing. I guess tubing is the way to say it. So it will be interesting. I might have to go and watch a few of those episodes and just see how exactly it looks.
Well, so we have that kind of insight and an inside look at the gameplay at its highest level last night. And then we've got the polar opposite of that from a football perspective. We've got Kirby Smart in his weekly press conference yesterday as well, giving as little information as possible and as showing as little passion as possible for the game of football. We'll let you hear some of what he had to say as we roll on this morning, talk plenty of Carolina, Georgia preview, as well as a recap of what happened with the Gamecocks' 3-point win against East Carolina over the weekend, especially from the quarterback perspective. We've got former Gamecock quarterback Harry Orth joining us in about 20 minutes or so, set for 7:30 this morning. Love to hear your thoughts, too. 803-404-6100 is the number. You can call or text. We're up and rolling on that live video stream as well, sponsored by Buford Lending, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and Twitter, where you can catch us there. The station handle on Twitter is at 1075 The Game. It's the early game here on 1075 The Game.
107.
Hey, needed to let you know about Zero Res Carpet and Air Duct Clean. If you're having some trouble around your house, like I have around my house all the time, especially with a 17-month-old these days, as soon as he gets done, I had to hand feed him the blueberries yesterday because my wife gave me strict instructions. If those got anywhere, it would be absolute disaster. It was the frozen ones, and it was close to a disaster just with me handing them. But fortunately, we've had the professional help of Zero Res at our house to get things under control. Zero Res done a great job cleaning our carpets, cleaned an area rug for us, helped freshen up the tile in the kitchen and the bathroom. And man, when Zero Res leaves our house, it's like it's a totally different feel, a completely fresh and new home feel at our house. I know they can do the same thing for you. I know that, and I recommend Zero Res not only because of those professional carpet cleaning results, but also the unique way that they get those. They have a patented ZR water with no harsh chemicals involved in the process. They crank up the pH in the water. You can go to ZeroResColumbia.com to find out all the details and book your appointment now. You can also give them a call at 803-262-4020. 3 rooms of carpet cleaned, only $119 plus a free hallway when you mention me, Tim Hill. That's ZeroResColumbia.com, 803-262-4020. Zero Res. Spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean. We'll get in a little bit of Clay Helton stuff too here in this next segment. Work for you?
Yeah.
You want to play Jamie's hypothetical game?
Oh, wait. Is that the one that asked about the Kirby Smart situation?
Uh-huh.
I get into that a little bit. On air right here.
Either way, it's fine with me, man.
You're the big cheese. The big cheese.
Definitely not. Might as well go ahead. Carpe diem, Bill.
Might as well go ahead and discuss it.
Yeah.
Jamie, I don't think he would have had success. I think he would have been very similar to Muschamp. I think they run their programs very, very similar. And Kirby Smart has done nothing to show me that he would have hired better coordinators or run a program really differently than Will Muschamp did. I think he's had success recruiting because he's at Georgia, just like Muschamp had success. I think you might even say Muschamp would have had more success just because he at least had some head coaching experience that I think paid off at the very beginning.
Weird comment he gave yesterday, Kirby did in this weekly presser, was asked about, especially from the recruiting perspective, what Shane Beamer did. And he said he thinks 90% of recruiting is the letter that you have on your chest and who you're recruiting to.
I agree with that. I mean, that's a very...
I mean, in his own way, it kind of sells himself short on that, you know. It totally backs up your point. But I thought it was a weird thing to say about recruiting when the typical thing you hear from coaches is, yeah, great job and great recruiter and the whole thing. But now I guess having to recruit against him, that's just where they are. Morning, Patrick.
Good morning.
You just getting back from work?
Yeah, I showered though.
Attaboy.
Guess I missed a great game. Unfortunate.
Yeah, that was tremendous.
You watched the whole Manning thing?
Yep.
Yeah, we've been talking about it this morning. What about you?
Well, no, I didn't get to see any of it because I started early. You watched that whole thing instead of the regular broadcast, or did you switch between?
Started with the regular one, went to Manning, went back to the regular one, and then finished with the Manning one for basically, I think, the whole fourth quarter. And Bill caught it earlier with Charles Barkley. I think the hard part for them is to realize who's kind of leading the way, and then when to talk instead of talking over each other.
Well, who's the third person?
Well, when they have a guest, it's Eli, right? And then the guest.
Oh, but I thought they were looking for, like, I guess, like a narrator or like a guy to throw us
Traditional host.
different people.
No,
Yeah,
I'm glad they don't have that. Like, Peyton is clearly the guy.
I thought that was the original plan. Interesting.
It might be for a show that doesn't have a bunch of guests, but why wouldn't they be able to get people to pop in there?
All right, I'm back in.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and do the Kirby Smart thing straight in here, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
I know you use a lot of different motivations. Will you bring up what happened the last time South Carolina played in Sanford Stadium to the team at some point?
Well, I mean, that was brought up some last year. I think it was more relevant last year. A lot more similarities in their team last year and their staff, with the exception of, Will being gone. But, what happened the last time they were here was really about us, not about them. And it's always going to be about what we do and how we execute. And we're trying to do that at the high
Five.
and whatever we can do this week in practice to be able to execute at a high level, that's what I want to focus on.
Kirby Smart, weekly press conference for Georgia yesterday. The typical, I would say, college football head coach press conference in a lot of ways, not divulging a whole lot, even though there were plenty of Carolina questions. Luke Doty, Shane Beamer, relationships with those guys. Zeb Nolan popped up, but Kirby Smart, I'd say, doing the usual coach speak thing, and you could hear the massive amount of energy and enthusiasm he had in his voice there. I'd say that's pretty much all it was for, I think it was only about 18 minutes or so, his weekly press conference there. Bill, interesting question from Jamie this morning on the Facebook live stream. If Kirby Smart would have come to Columbia instead of Will Muschamp, would he have had success here? You addressed it on the live video stream briefly, saying you think it would have gone very similarly to how it went for Will Muschamp. Why do you feel that way?
Yeah, I think they are very similar coaches. I think the idea to stick to stick completely to the Saban model and do it in the way that Nick tried to do everything. And I don't know if is Kirby, I know he got to the national championship game, but has he been that much more successful than Mark Richt?
Yes.
I mean, Mark Richt,
in my opinion, yes, because he has Georgia at that next tier where they're expected to win the East every year, not just maybe they'll do it or they'll win it every few years. They're because of the separation between that program and Florida. I feel like you got to give Kirby Smart some credit there and put them on the next level. Patrick, do you agree with me or no?
Well, yeah, because I think they're the most talented team in the country.
Did we ever say that about Georgia and Mark Richt? I mean, we always knew they were pretty good, but I don't think we ever said that. Bill, you understand what I'm saying there? You disagree?
To an extent, but Kirby Smart is not dealing with Urban Meyer as the Florida coach. Dan Mullen is good. He's certainly, you and I were talking off air about the article in Sports Illustrated yesterday about his hiring at Florida, but Dan Mullen and Florida is not Urban Meyer in Florida, which, was there really at the back half of, or what is it, the middle part, I guess, of Mark Richt's tenure. And I still think, that Aaron Murray team, I don't know if they would have gotten into the College Football Playoff. I guess they wouldn't have, because I think that was 2012.
when they got thumped by South Carolina here, but at the end of the year they got into the SEC championship game, and Aaron Murray's pass got batted down at the 5-yard line. Alabama went on to play Notre Dame in the BCS and then just beat a bad Notre Dame team 42-14. Do you remember that game? Do you remember that year? Georgia probably would have won the national championship that year if they're the team that gets in, if they win that SEC championship game. Yeah, I mean, has Kirby Smart maybe upgraded the talent a little bit? Yeah, Georgia was recruiting really, really, really well under Mark Richt. But to answer the question, I don't know if it would be drastically different. My initial opinion is no. I don't think it would have been. But who knows? Maybe he would have been the guy who had all the answers and would have been able to get it completely fixed.
What if it were flipped?
I agree with what you're saying, Bill, because I don't think Kirby Smart has given Georgia a unique identity that they didn't have previously. I just think he has kind of upgraded the talent all the way around and applied the Nick Saban model to a place that can thrive in the Nick Saban model just because of the inherent recruiting advantages in the state of Georgia, that talent base, and then there is history there. There has been success, and I give him credit, but I think I think a lot of Georgia fans are pretty quick to not give him 100% A grades across the board and the whole thing. Maybe if they had won the national championship instead of Tua Tagovailoa throwing that touchdown in overtime back in the day, that it would be a different conversation. But that happened, and watching Will Muschamp trying to force the Nick Saban model at South Carolina, watching Jeremy Pruitt try to force it at Tennessee, and those not working out there, it's hard for me to believe that Kirby Smart would have had a ton of different or a ton more success than what we saw with Will Muschamp.
Well, Kirby Smart wouldn't have put Tua in, right? Like, isn't that part of the big thing he gets criticized for is Jake Fromm was good, but I mean, you had Justin Fields waiting in the wings and you let him leave instead of giving him a chance, and you thought he could have brought your team to the next level.
I don't know. You put Justin Fields in on a fake punt there. Critical time in the SEC championship game.
Yeah,
it's true. He does get ripped for that. Jamie says, that's kind of the feeling I had, but not a football expert talking about this. Craig says if they had Pickens, Jackson, and Gilbert, they'd be the most talented. Those guys are monsters, I guess, but not available at this point for Georgia. And what about the quarterback situation there? To me, there's not a massive drop-off, so it's not a huge conversation to watch what Stetson Bennett did last week, to know what he did last year, having a bunch of success, maybe not the ultimate success, and clearly JT Daniels is a better quarterback, but I think the drop-off is not significant. And right now, either quarterback is poised to have some success against the Gamecocks. That's how I'm looking at the Georgia quarterback situation. Bill, what about you?
I don't know. I don't, again, talking to Brian Edwards at the beginning of the year, Brian Edwards with Vegas Insider, and he had an interesting take on JT Daniels, looking back at the end of last year, and JT Daniels, who he beat, a bad Mississippi State team, a bad South Carolina team, a COVID-riddled Missouri team on the road. He wasn't that impressive in the bowl game. I know Clemson's defense is really good, so I'm not going to necessarily criticize him for that game, but he also didn't get Georgia into the end zone in that ball game. I can't say for certain that maybe you don't want JT Daniels back. I'm very intrigued, Patrick. I feel like he right now, maybe he ends up being great. Maybe he plays this weekend and throws for 7 million yards, and we learn that he is a legitimate Heisman candidate. But at the same time, I have to wonder if JT Daniels is the link that holds them back. Can he get that offense going? They do need to get some of their guys back. Darnell Washington. I guess we're all under the assumption Eric Gilbert will not play this year. But at the end of the day, that is kind of what I'm interested to see. Is JT Daniels the quarterback that gets them over the hump and can beat an Alabama or beat an Oklahoma? I don't know who else you're throwing in there right now. He has beaten Clemson, but again, I don't really give him the credit for doing that. So, if he comes, I can't say for certain that if they announce at the end of the week JT Daniels is playing, that I look at that as like, oh, that's a bad thing. I might want him over Stetson Bennett.
I would look at it probably the same way no matter who's playing quarterback at this point. It's just there's just more upside with him, which can be good or that can be a fatal flaw. I mean, he wasn't special last year, but there are throws that he makes where you're like, okay, he's the only guy on the team that can make that throw. Some to like Jermaine Burton, where he's just deep and he just opens up a different level of the field that Stetson Bennett can't. But does Georgia need that? I don't know. I mean, I have a football crush on their tight end room altogether. If Eric Gilbert was there, it would be the most ridiculous tight end room ever. Like freak after freak after freak. Brock Bowers without Darnell Washington or Eric Gilbert there, the true freshman, has been absolutely ridiculous through 2 games. I just don't know that that's what they might not need that. They might just do all their work underneath, let that offensive line eat, and Stetson Bennett just make the right decisions. Like Georgia might be the perfect team for a guy who's a 5th-year senior and can put the ball where it needs to be and just distribute. But that's why JT Daniels was, I think, the 3rd best Heisman odds this year, which was a terrible value for anyone wanting to bet JT Daniels. But I'm pretty sure it was just Spencer Rattler, DJ, and JT, which I guess is just by virtue of being the quarterback of a highly ranked team. But that's always been the question. I mean, is he going to? I know the the throw-to-throw analytics people don't love JT Daniels, but the Vegas people just kind of love his upside.
CRM says, win or lose this week, I just want to see the Gamecock defense against Georgia's offense, which is a solid measuring stick to where we really are defensively. Interested in getting the thoughts from former Gamecock quarterback Perry Orth about what he saw over the weekend and what he will see coming up with Carolina and Georgia this weekend, especially knowing his first career start in Athens. Plenty of inside information from Perry coming up next. It's the early game here on 107.5 The Game.
Dan Patrick, weekdays 9 until noon
on 107.5 The Game.
Oh, exactly what algicide does for your pool. I've asked you a couple times during the morning, and to my point, you probably have other things that you have to do in your life instead of worrying about a question about algicide that I'm asking you each and every day regarding maintaining your pool. I mean, does it treat your algae? Does it prevent your algae? Again, you probably have a lot of other things to worry about. Getting the kids to school, getting them to soccer practice. Maybe there's a big report you've got to do at the office. And the bottom line in this, it takes a lot of time to maintain your pool. A lot of your hard hours that you'd rather use just playing in the pool and relaxing. That's why you need to use Corley Pool Solutions to maintain your pool, because they know exactly what algicide does. They know how to treat your pool, how to prevent it from turning that ugly green color, instead keeping it a nice crystal blue color that you feel comfortable jumping into. Use the professionals there. 20 years of experience for Tracy Corley and his team. 803-445-8109. Flat rate pricing, including all the chemicals. And that's the important thing here, because even if you go to your pool store and explain to them what's going on with your pool, they're not looking at it. They're not 100% sure what to do. They might offer a suggestion. What if they offer the wrong suggestion and you spend too much money on the wrong chemical? You need to use a professional that'll come out and look at your pool each and every time and make sure it's maintained properly. 803-445-8109. I know some of you are thinking, hey, look, it's almost winter time. What do I need to worry about maintaining my pool for? Well, because otherwise you're going to spend a lot more money when we get back to the spring and you're ready to start using it. 803-445-8109. That's Corley Pool Solutions. Oh, the sun is up. And look at the weather today. No. I believe we will be grilling some burgers tonight.
Nice.
kind of finish celebrating I say finish. We'll still be celebrating next week or this weekend, but celebrating the daughter's birthday.
Terry, we get compensated with tremendous comments from you and others.
That is the gift that keeps on giving.
That is what they say.
Good question, Anthony. None of us are going to the game that I know of. What about you? I love watching football over in Athens. To me, it's at the top of the list. But my football attending games this fall will be very limited. Oh, what a jinx comment that is from Alan. A nice, quiet, refreshing morning show this morning. Nobody popping off at the mouth at y'all.
Still have an hour and a half.
I was going to say, we still got plenty of time.
Perry's just going to come in and lower the boom.
Right.
We still got plenty of time.
That's good, Damon. Richard, line one. Thank you, Terry. That is kind of you, sir. Attaboy, Anthony. Oh, Craig, that's too bad, man. But, yeah, not a place you want to go get punched in the face. Patrick, you been to a game in Athens? Dude, what are you doing? You're on mute, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I've been to Athens, not been to a game.
That's unacceptable, Patrick.
Yeah, not that easy. I never had friends that went to Georgia, which would have helped.
Perry is fired up and ready. I warned him that, there could be a 2-week suspension if he cusses. So
Nice.
Athens is a good college town. I like Athens.
all right, guys are up.
A guy who made his first career start in Athens. Great time to join us here. He's former quarterback for the Gamecocks, Perry Orth, on the Love Chevy phone lines at 803-404-6100. Perry, how are you this morning, sir?
Good, Tim. Thanks for having me on as always. We good and 2-0.
Yeah, let's go ahead and review before we look ahead to the Carolina-Georgia game. What did you make of what happened over the weekend, and especially at the quarterback position, and where you think it might go? I got to give you all the credit in the world, man. We were talking about the quarterback situation this time last week. You said you thought it would be Zeb Nolan getting the start. That's exactly what happened, and the Gamecocks get the 3-point win at East Carolina.
Yeah, I figured that Zeb would start just with, foot injuries they're lingering injuries, and they're not types of injuries that you can just rush back into. And if you re-aggravate, then now you're basically out another couple weeks. So I figured Zeb would be going until, they needed Luke or until, but it was obvious Deb did struggle in the first half. Just he really couldn't get comfortable, but I think that attributes to the entire offense. We couldn't, find a groove in the run game. We ended up finding that late in the second half, but whenever you're put in third and second and long situations, an obvious pass down, it makes it difficult on everybody. It makes it difficult on the quarterback. It makes it difficult on the O-line because the D-line is pinning their ears back and rushing with no respect to the run game. It just makes it difficult. And I know that just watching the game and listening to Coach Beamer talk about it, they came with a lot of run blitzing. For all the listeners out there that don't really understand what that means, is that defenses have to play gap sound, and every player is in the box is responsible for a gap, right? So like defensive line, defensive tackle would be responsible. It's just called for the A gap, linebacker B gap, DN C gap, right? So when you have guys constantly playing up at the line of scrimmage and blowing up each gap, it makes it really hard to run the football. And East Carolina did a really good job of that. Georgia they're going to do the exact same thing Saturday, so we need to come up with answers. But it was a good gutty win, gutty performance. We started throwing the ball down the field well. Josh Van stepped up, Kerryon Joyner stepped up, and that was good to see. But yeah, we obviously didn't groove, but anytime you can play like that and come out with a win, that's a good day.
Let's ask you what you see right now, because I think the big question is, and everybody's biggest concern, this was expected to be an offense that at least could run the ball. Maybe there was going to be questions in the passing game. I went back and watched yesterday and really tried to focus more on the offensive line, Perry, to see there was one play in particular that just happened, I guess. Kevin Harris had a big run to the left side. It looked like South Carolina went tempo, and they tried to almost run the exact same play, and for whatever reason, I think it was the left guard, Jalen Nichols, who thought they were going to be in pass protection because as he came out of his stance, he kind of took a step backwards, and it ended up leading to Kevin Harris being sacked. But what are you seeing right now from the run game? Is it as simple as teams are just blitzing or sending guys up the middle and creating bad numbers? Is it something that's completely different? What do you see in the run game that could be fixed to get these running backs going?
I think the number one thing that I've noticed is, we're obviously doing a decent amount of zone blocking, right? The run that we kept hitting late in the game is an outside zone. It's meant for you to hook that outside defensive end. The running back can get outside of that, but also in zone blocking, you can read it as a running back from the backside C gap all the way to the front side C, so you can hit it anywhere. But the struggle that I've noticed in the run game is our guys play vertical. What I mean by that is when they hit, they're standing straight up and down, and it's hard to get push, especially when the defender has leverage on you, right? So they're hitting and just kind of shuffling down the line. And I've noticed, to me, that being an issue of not getting any push on the defensive line, because eventually you've got to eventually impose your will on the opponent for you to be able to get that kind of forward-leaning run game that you need to have that eventually in late in ball games wears teams down. And schematically, it's hard to say without actually knowing the play that's called. I mean, you can sit there and watch on film and be like, oh, they were trying to run this, but, then one guy screws up and you don't really understand what they're running. That's just one simple thing that I've noticed. I think the concern that I've heard amongst friends of mine watching the game is, this is virtually the same group of offensive line that we had last year that really ran the ball well. So just trying to figure it out. And I know that they're learning a new offense, so we got to give it some time. But yeah, it was definitely, especially against a lesser opponent, you'd like to be able to get out there and run it down their throat.
Good to have the expertise from a guy who played quarterback for Steve Spurrier and Will Muschamp, and Perry Orth joining us here on the Love Chevy phone lines. Craig wants to ask on the Facebook Live chat, wonder why we didn't run screens against that kind of pressure. Can you weigh in on that, Perry? Why wasn't the screen game used more against East Carolina, knowing what they were trying to do on defense?
That's a great question, brother. Honestly, no, I don't know. That was something that I was hoping to have seen, but hey, they maybe don't have it installed yet, or maybe they just didn't have it in the game plan, or they expected East Carolina to do something different. I tell you this, I expect to see some receiver screens, running back screens, anything to help slow down that pass rush of Georgia. But I agree. I mean, I think I would have loved it. I'm a big believer in screenplays. I think they work really well, especially out of the backfield. Slot receiver, quick stuff into the boundary, even to the field as well. It's all good. Those are great plays if blocked properly. I hope we, go into that question, I hope we see that this weekend.
Are there quarterbacks that are just inherently really good at the screen touch pass as opposed to guys who just don't have that kind of touch?
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely quarterbacks that are better than others. It's a feel. I always tell my quarterbacks, it's like you're 70 yards out from the pin. You take your 56 wedge, and it's just a touch pass, right? It's all a feel. It's all rhythm. It's all really repetition. But, I mean, as you know, there are other guys that are better from 70 yards out from the pin than there are others. So
wait, are you taking shots? Are you taking personal shots at our short game and the lack thereof here on the early game? Because you should. Because my game's 70 yards in.
Really more going after Bill, but
nice.
That's pretty much.
Thank you. Okay, that's fair. Why not? I'm the one who's I'm the most sensitive of the group. We all know that.
That is his role for sure.
You've just been most quiet, so I feel like we got to get you involved.
Whoa, we haven't heard that.
All right, man, come on, Bill, get in there.
He's former Gamecock quarterback Perry Orr throwing in a Steve Spurrier impersonation every now and again. We'll get his thoughts about the Georgia matchup specifically when we come back here. You're listening to the early game. It's 107.5 The Game.
Live, local, and free. That's how we do sport. 107.5.
About that, Bill. Quiet guy on the show.
Ask the question. I've been making comments. I guess he's used to me being in studio and being far more talkative.
Well, those are the only kind of guests I like to have, the ones that are willing to take shots.
At the host, that is.
For sure. Terry, no. I know you might be saying that to make yourself feel better. That was not the case at East Carolina. If it was, the coaches need to be fired immediately.
Could have been.
Holding back their good plays. No.
Could have been. Maybe they figured.
Bill, they never led in the game. The only time they led is when the clock expired.
They knew they could run the outside zone late. Oh, some feedback there.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Exactly, Craig.
Boy.
All right, had to finish up the peanut butter crusts before they went bad upstairs.
The what?
Go. The old crusts from lunch. Had to finish those up before they got thrown away.
You say the crusts?
Mm-hmm. You're unfamiliar with the bread term?
I didn't know those just hang around as a snack.
I'm not gonna throw that away. Come on now.
I didn't realize that.
Sounds like my dad. He always said he'd eat what everybody else wouldn't, Well,
Exactly.
I'm on human disposal. I'll just, you don't want the crust, I'll eat it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I do
family
that, but I do that at dinner, like when we've gone to a restaurant. Now, if there's not I specifically want, I just order something small, and then the kids get,
Graze off of.
and then just like, all right, well, they're not gonna eat all that.
Yep.
Come on now. It's also good. I like bread and peanut butter. Not like I just ate the banana peel, Mark.
The apple core.
Isn't that who Alyssa
Yeah.
did that?
Because who does it? What was the story? One of the quarterbacks, I think, in college football. That was the story why she did it, I think.
Somebody eats the banana peel?
Yeah, they did a
Will Levis.
banana peel.
Levis, yeah, the Kentucky quarterback.
Okay.
No, from making lunches this morning, Mark.
Oh, okay. Now, yeah, no,
now.
the way you said that did come across as from lunch yesterday. All right, now we're.
Yeah, he's bagging up leftover, crusts. And,
Well, the way he
stop.
did say it, did come across as from lunch yesterday, which I was kind of with Mark on that. I wasn't gonna bring it. I was like, I think that's why people were like, well, you just keep food like laying around from yesterday,
just in case. A couple eggshells you lick, yeah.
Wait, what?
My apologies. I was much more interested in eating the crust than telling you the story of eating the
Good.
crust.
So Hope and we all heard the same thing. I wasn't gonna bring it up either. I was like, wait, you're eating? I was like, is that a thing? Like a day old bread crust? Does it get kind of?
Oh, there you go.
You guys don't do the crust croutons at your house?
It gets crunchy or whatever. And yeah, it's good to know. Okay, now that makes. Now I'm with you. Now from the morning.
We're not feeling like we need to do a GoFundMe page for him.
Yeah, now it makes sense. Now I'm with him on what he was doing. So now I can get on board with it. Yeah.
We're about to head back in.
Yeah. I am not afraid to start a peanut butter crouton business. Don't think I am.
That's not a bad idea.
Untapped industry.
Turkey crust sandwich. Turkey. Wait, you can't you can't have the turkey still in the crust. Then you got to just. I don't know if you guys are any sandwich.
If you could get the outside of that processed turkey on the crust, then you're killing two birds with one stone. That would be excellent.
Literally.
Maybe two dogs.
I hate kids are up.
First career start back in the day at Georgia, Carolina at Georgia again this Saturday. Perry, I wake up with nightmares of like finishing an exam or something like that. Do you still have dreams of playing against Georgia back in the day?
Much now, it's getting so long. No, I'm just kidding. But it's a great atmosphere. I wish I could have played there again. It was just kind of such a, I hate to make this comparison. It's kind of like your wedding day, right? You're so excited for it. Everything goes by so fast. You don't even really remember any of it. It just kind of all was like a blur. The whole day just kind of came and went. And then you got in the bus, you're on your way home, and you're like, man, it's already over. Like, I don't even know what happened, But
don't tell your new wife that. Do not touch. It does not go well. Look at pictures, find a video, remember what you can, and be like, no, this moment was very special. You might not remember it, but Perry is a divorced person giving advice. Make sure you look at some pictures and be like, sweetie, I remember that moment and it was glorious. Don't tell her, yeah, it was quick. I don't remember any of it.
Go with the honesty, Perry.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
Unless she's listening right now, I should be okay.
She's actually on the live video chat.
But no,
she knew what she was getting into marrying a celebrity like yourself. She knew that there was going to be a lot of. I don't think she goes out of her way every day to listen to you now.
Yeah, celebrity. That's a heck of a word there.
Yeah, dual threat celebrity, Bill. Get it right, man.
Not that guy, pal. Trust me.
So obviously, great atmosphere you're getting to there, Perry. The environment. Georgia's going to be ready for South Carolina in this thing, a huge favorite in the whole deal. Do you anticipate Luke Doty will be on the field for Carolina in this one after what you saw over the weekend, or you think it's going to be Zeb Nolan again?
Zeb starts, Luke plays. That's the vibe that I'm getting right now. Unless Luke goes out and has just an unbelievable week of practice, I think Zeb's going to start. But I do expect Luke to play early, and if he, can get things going a little bit, I expect him to take over. But then again, I mean, we haven't seen Luke play in a minute, and he's got to have his opportunity to get out there and throw it around. And I know Zeb, it's kind of funny. I mean, Zeb looks like he had lost some weight from the first game to the next game and seemed to be moving a little bit better. Obviously he's not quite like a dual threat like your boy here, but no, but he threw the ball better as the game went along. So I thought that was encouraging. So excited to have Luke back. Tough contest this week. I mean, Georgia obviously is one of the best teams in the country. I do expect our defense to play really well. I don't think we're that far different. I know you Clemson fans out there hate hearing me say that, but defensively, I really don't. I mean, we're very close to being, just as talented as Clemson is, and so I expect us to play a very similar game to how they played Georgia the other night.
So then, what's a measure of success? Clemson only scored 3 points in that ball game. What do you feel like would be a successful game that can continue some positive momentum on a season that started 2-0 for Carolina?
Yeah, if you go out and you make it and I hate even saying losing, but you go out and you keep Georgia under 24 points or 24 points and under, and you make it, say it's a 24-10 game, that's a win for basically a new team under a new staff playing on the road at that environment. Number 2 team in the country, and they're elite. They've got a ton of talent, and we got some good players too. But if we can go out there and make it that type of a ball game, very similar to 2017. I don't know if you guys remember that game or not. Just kind of a slugfest back and forth. If we can make it that type of ball game, that'd be a huge success for us to come home, play Kentucky at night, and kind of really, really get the season off on a good note.
He's former Gamecock quarterback Perry Orth, now tutoring young quarterbacks with his QB1 Athletics. You can go to QB1athletics.com for more information. You can catch Perry on Twitter as well at Perry Orth 10, where you can find him there. Also, Perry doing the insurance game as well professionally and can hook you up there. Perry, appreciate the insight every Tuesday at 7:30 during the season. Good to hear the breakdown and the preview of this ball game, and looking forward to doing it again next week.
Thanks, Tim. See you guys.
70 yards and in. Remember that, you fellow terrible golfers out there. You're only supposed to practice, I think, 100 yards and in when your handicap is as high as I do. But then practicing is also cheating in golf in a lot of ways, Bill.
No, it's fun, right? I mean, I don't know. Depends on how you practice. If you're one of the people who just goes to the range, maybe that's not as much fun. Maybe if you just go out and play. Just go play. Just don't even avoid the range. Just go straight to the on-course learning.
Patrick, what did you take from Perry there?
We'll get into it, but
45.
Like this week, I actually like the sound of Zeb starting and Dirty finishing.
Well, I'm sorry. That's Patrick Perrette. You should have heard some guy on the radio last week named Patrick Perrette. It doesn't sound like the same guy at all.
30.
Well, different weeks, different situations, different opinions.
Wait, do you have a massive play call sheet in front of you as you're sitting on your calico print?
He's drawing.
What is that? What do you got there?
Sheet right now.
Oh, is that your laptop? It looks like a massive
15.
play sheet.
Oh,
You
yeah.
kind of look like Andy
Yep.
Reid. I thought you were going to
I don't
call
know.
some tremendous.
With the
He's got an
mustache,
Excel.
too.
He's got
I
an
don't know
Excel
what
sheet
Calico
out
is.
right now, going through all the backup quarterbacks in the NFL to find the guy to replace Taylor
Why is your
Heineke.
face shield all foggy? That's weird. Hour 3 coming.
This is Gamecock basketball head Frank Martin, and you're listening to 107.5 The Game, WNKT.
Pretty sure that's what that print of the chair is, calico. Never heard of calico before?
I just thought it was like a cow.
No, it's a cat. What do you think, Jen? Can you confirm or deny my call using the word calico?
I think that's
Yeah,
fair.
I thought calico was more of multicolored, like on a cat or something. To me, that's
you're probably right.
more of like a cow print or something.
There.
Bill, do you want to crank out this Sleep number.
Yep.
Sorry.
See ya. A ton is the answer here, Al. A ton. So what's the outlook now for the football team, sir? After the disappointing first loss.
Well, Taylor Heineke looked good. He looked better than Fitzpatrick did in game one. So
how did that rotation go? Why did they both play?
Well, Fitzpatrick is out for 8 weeks.
Oh yeah, what did he hurt?
Hurt his hip.
His hip. Yeah, that sounds right. He's old.
Oh well, he got drilled, and I don't know what they said. A hip sub. I have to look what it is. They believe a hip subluxation.
That's never good.
I don't know what that means. I didn't even bother to look it up. I just heard the old man and hip and said that might be it for him. It's somebody else had this. Alter position of the vertebrae. I've seen this thing. He got hurt and Taylor Heineke played pretty well. The defense stunk.
Wow, that's weird.
Yeah, I mean, in the NFL, I feel like it's hard to be the best defense in the league for multiple years, and all the hype they were getting, they were bound to disappoint to an extent. Justin Herbert was automatic on third downs. He was I think they were 13 of 16 on third down.
Whoa. I think East Carolina was 2 of 16 over the week.
Yeah. And when they got the ball with 6.5 minutes left, and Justin Herbert just converted third down after third down. Never gave us the ball back. That's almost more impressive than a game-winning drive. I feel like just methodically running out 6.5 minutes and not even giving the other team a chance.
So who's behind Heineke now in the quarterback rotation?
Kyle Allen.
Okay, not bad. Not a bad third option.
We did sign Kyle Shermer, the Vanderbilt kid. From a couple years ago. So I guess he's our practice squad quarterback now. For the time being.
Where is his dad? Is he still with the Giants?
I don't know. Is he even in the NFL? I don't think he's with the Giants because they fired him. I can't imagine he came back.
Let's see.
Denver. I think he did a pretty good job on Sunday, it looks like.
Anybody else feeling robbed of a sunrise this morning on beautiful Lake Murray?
He was betting whether you'd comment.
Now I'm getting a picture of a brick wall instead of a beautiful sunrise. I mean,
Clearly, he cares only about himself.
it would be different if Bill would grow a beautiful mustache like Patrick has done.
This is true.
How's the pursuit of handlebar mustache going?
I tried to, when I shaved the rest of it, leave some down at the bottom. It didn't work. It's looked weird.
Uh-oh.
That's true, Mark. The picture does have a sunrise right there, so we are kind of getting a sunrise.
I have a beautiful beard. It's not really a beard. I feel like a beard is more entailed. I feel like I just facial hair.
So we're good with just 2 breaks here, Jen?
Yes, I put that in there.
Got it.
810 Buford, 840 Daniels,
Thank you.
and your favorite 87-year-old.
All right. Bill, if you want to get out to Golden Hill, Scott will take you this morning at 11:20. I'm going to play at Wildwood, I think, tomorrow.
So fun.
So I mean, you got to come down this way.
That is how that works. Yeah. I'll talk to you about it after the show.
Yeah, I would. I've got to get healthy. Also, I got a busy day. I got to get to the store. I got to go to the other office.
All right, bro, step back in.
All right, Craig, if you can get to Golden Hills at 11:20, Scott's got a spot for you. Let's do Brian Edwards again last night to start, please.
Okay.
Defensive line. Shotgun snap. They rush it. Here comes the blitz. He throws it away in a back pedal down the far sideline. Backpedaling catch. Waller at the 10. Back pedals down the sideline. Touchdown, Raiders! Brian Edwards with the reception of 33 yards.
5.
Their first lead all night.
Happened in overtime there. It didn't quite happen how Kevin Harlan called it on the Westwood One radio network that you heard right here on 107.5 The Game last night, because it ended up being overruled on review about 6-8 inches short, maybe, is what former Gamecock Brian Edwards ended up. It was originally a walk-off touchdown winner for the Raiders last night, and Edwards basically got the Raiders to overtime as well with a couple of clutch catches at the end of regulation to set up a 55-yard tying field goal. Then it was a catch at the beginning of overtime to get the drive going, and then that 32-yard catch just down to the end zone that set up one of the most bizarre, dramatic finishes that I've seen in a long, long time. So was watching the Manning cast last night, which we all give good reviews. Patrick, you didn't catch it at all? Is that correct?
No, yeah, I didn't see any of it.
It took a little getting used to for me, because I'm not a guy who watches that mega cast thing for the college football national championship. I feel like, especially with the stakes being as high as they are there, I just want to watch the game. I want to hear the information that they bring to the broadcast. Everything else is kind of a distraction to me. But the first Monday night football game of the year, Raiders and Ravens, I'm not really attached to either one of the teams. I'm just kind of watching for entertainment value. So I turned on the Manning cast. I turned on the broadcast first, and I was like, oh, okay, I got this. It's a regular game. Let's check out what Peyton and Eli are doing. Turn it over there. They got Ray Lewis on, and about a minute in, it just goes to commercial as they're talking. I'm like, this is kind of amateurish. I'm not going to keep watching this. A little chaotic. I couldn't hear Ray Lewis the best. No thanks. Then I keep watching the game, and it keeps getting good. And I'm like, I got to see what Peyton and Eli have to say about this. And so I end up watching, I think, the entire fourth quarter with the Manning cast. And the more I watched it, Bill, the more I liked it. And I think it's simply because, and I think this goes for all things in life, when someone is passionate about something and you're seeing them kind of involved in it, or hearing them talk about it, or the whole thing, it's easy for me to get involved and to appreciate it. And that's what I was seeing with Peyton, especially. I mean, you can just tell how much he loves football on every single play. There was some kind of reaction or gesture or comment or something that he was seeing at a completely different level than I think 99.9% of people watching. So that kept me involved. And then the game turned out to be tremendous, and having the former Gamecock Brian Edwards play such a huge role was integral in that as well. But for those of you who didn't stay up, the rest of that story is 6 inches away from the goal line, they run a quarterback sneak on first play, doesn't get in. Second play, Eli Manning says, hey, don't go hard count, just go on one. And the Raiders go hard count, and their rookie offensive lineman, Alex Leatherwood from Alabama, jumps, and they got to move back to the 5-yard line. They throw it the next play right off a Ravens helmet, intercepted. Just devastating there in Vegas, which was a massive crowd and a tremendous atmosphere and the whole thing. Then the Ravens get the ball back, try to go down the field, force a fumble. Lamar Jackson fumbles, and fortunately for the Raiders, they get it back. They try to kick a field goal. Apparently didn't tell the field goal kicker. Bring their offense back on the field. Everybody's confused, and the Raiders end up getting one of the easiest walk-off touchdowns you'll ever see from Zay Jones. And it was a complete Monday Night Football celebration and scene there in Vegas. And with the Manning cast involved last night, I was wildly entertained, Bill. Kind of start to finish is probably unfair, but certainly halfway through the third quarter on is how I saw it. What about you?
I called it early. I called it, I think, at the end of the first quarter, towards the end of the first quarter, because I called it the end of Charles Barkley, who they had on, and I didn't really get enough to hear enough of Barkley, just kind of cutting up and breaking stuff down with Peyton and Eli. So I called a lot more of the second quarter, and that's when they added Ray Lewis. And it was interesting to hear the back and forth of Ray Lewis and Peyton Manning, and to a lesser extent Eli. Eli's kind of the quiet guy, right? Like, you can kind of see the family dynamic there. Like, for sure, I would imagine they get around the Thanksgiving turkey or something, and it's Peyton just talking. I don't know. We don't know much about Cooper. I don't know what exactly Cooper does, but it's just Peyton talking and talking and talking, and you can kind of see Archie just over in the corner, just kind of nodding along, and Eli's probably too cool for school. He's just off doing something else. And with Peyton, definitely, it's hard to get a word in edgewise with him. You got Eli, but it was interesting to hear watch film, what certain things he was looking for, and then you had Peyton coming back and kind of saying, yeah, some of the things I did, it really hurt us when they started putting the sideline mics out there and they're picking up the cadences and the audibles that I'm saying. He's like, it's really helping you guys during the game. You mentioned the funny story, I think, about Eli Manning talking about being a rookie or early on in his career, calling out Ray Lewis as the middle linebacker, and Ray yelling back, no, he's the middle linebacker, and Ed Reed coming down going, I want to be the middle linebacker. And it's interesting to hear those stories, but also see some of the behind the scenes type stuff that you picked up on that last night. I'll definitely tune back in. I would tune in for that more so. And I actually like this Monday night group of Steve Levy, Louis Riddick, and Brian Greasy. I actually think that's one of the Monday night crews that I've liked more than in the past. But the Peyton Manning thing is just kind of interesting.
Much.
Yeah, but it's a group that I think you'd kind of go with. It's a different way of watching. I think I saw that on Twitter last night.
Right, definitely different.
Somebody
way.
saying it's a different way of watching a game, but it's certainly very interesting.
Well, to me, it's perfect for me because as opposed to the College Football National Championship, where I really want to be focused on the game, this one is more like, hey, I'll have it on just to see what's going on. And so I can definitely identify more with the legends talking about the game and kind of having it on as almost a second experience there, as opposed to it being my sole focus and something I'm completely involved in that way. Sonny from down in Conway, who has known Brian Edwards for a long time, says Brian won that game for the Raiders. Didn't get targeted all night until the end. Really upsets me how Darren Waller gets all those targets. You're about to hear Brian's name a lot more. Well, he certainly came through when the Raiders needed him. And when you do that in the NFL, I think you do earn more targets for sure. And I think he earned a lot of money last night doing that. How he did it, it was dramatic and really impressive for sure. What a tweet somebody just hit me up with from Atlanta Sports Guy. Let's see who hit me up with. Let me give proper accreditation here on Twitter at TimHill1075, where Tim Anderson hit me up just to make me aware of the Atlanta Sports Guy saying, Brian Edwards, it's insane how many great players Will Muschamp did nothing with at South Carolina. Again, Will Muschamp going to be talked about a bunch this week as Carolina gets ready for Georgia. He was mentioned on yesterday's weekly press conference from Kirby Smart. I'm guessing he'll be mentioned in some sort of way. Today's weekly press conference for Shane Beamer. I don't think we've heard very much. And maybe it's just the respect of moving on to the new regime about if Shane Beamer has been in contact at all with Will Muschamp, or if there's any sort of relationship there. I'm sure they've crossed paths a bunch, and Kirby Smart saying that he's known Shane Beamer for a long time. Obviously, Shane coached on his staff, but he was talking about before then and how they're kind of family friends and have done vacations at Lake Oconee. Will be interesting to hear if Will Muschamp comes up at all at today's weekly press conference for Shane Beamer, 1:15. You can hear it right here on 107.5 The Game. I know an 87-year-old that would like to discuss Carolina and Georgia right now, who's not necessarily a big fan of the Bulldogs, even though he was pulling for them and happy to see them win in game number 1. I'm guessing, Gamecock Larry, you're feeling a little differently as you sit here this morning, sir.
Yes, sir. I'll tell you what. I heard Kirby Smart talking about the game this weekend, and I heard you guys, I think, somebody say, but Georgia is going to win the SEC championship, and they may win the NCAA. But let me tell you something. As long as Nick Saban, his name's Nick. Now I'm thinking about his daddy, Lou. As long as Nick Saban is coaching Alabama, which is my second team now, I guess, they will not. Kirby Smart and Muskrat, Muschamp, whatever you want to call them. I call them Muskrat. I don't care. But as long as them two is Georgia, they will not win the SEC. As long as they got them two on the staff, head coach and defensive something. I don't know what he is. They named him something. But he sure left us in a world of hurt. But we coming out. We're going to be okay. And that 32.5 points, I will take any amount that anybody want to put up with the old Gamecock. If I have to go borrow the money, because I ain't got much. But that's, I tell you what, they will not. Don't you say that they're going to win the SEC, because as long as they are there, as long as the Knicks is Alabama, they will not win. As far as this weekend, we will cover the 32.5. I don't think I might not even predict the score this weekend, because I will not predict the score with my team, but having to say the Gamecocks going to lose. So I'm not saying we're going to win. I'm not saying we're going to lose. But I'll say we'll cover the spread. I don't care if it's 3.5 or 45.5. We will cover whatever the spread is. And that's about all I got to say, but I do not like any of them jokers down there in Athens. There may be a shootout in Athens Saturday night. It may be a shootout. Athens, here come the Beamer Steamer. Go Gamecocks.
Gamecock Larry, ladies and gentlemen.
Bulldog Larry.
I saw you
bandwagon, Larry. You calling him? I'm calling him bandwagon. When did he just jump on Alabama's bandwagon?
Crimson Larry.
Well, I saw you shake your head when he said that Lou Saban was Nick Saban's dad. And I've made that mistake before. It's not true. They were both really good coaches. Just, I think, distant cousins is how Lou referred to Nick maybe at some point in an article back in the day. But as far as we know, no relation there. Not giving a lot of love to Kirby Smart. Today, I think, was much happier with Kirby Smart after the 10-3 win in the season opener against Clemson, huh, Bill?
Yeah. No, he's back to completely disliking the Bulldogs now and understanding. He's just a man. He really, I don't know what Georgia did to him in his past, but he is not a Bulldog fan.
We'll get back into, I want to hear Patrick's take about why Zeb Nolan, you're much more of a fan this week in the Georgia matchup as opposed to what you were talking about this time last week with the East Carolina game and Luke Doty and the whole thing. We'll do that, but I guess I needed to explain because Jim in Goose Creek on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line, he says, have no clue about the Manning broadcast. What are you talking about? Okay, I guess that's fair. It was the first one. Jim, this was a thing that they did on ESPN2 last night. It's kind of an alternate way of watching Monday Night Football, and they're going to do it. Did you say, Bill, 9 times? Is that the total times of the season? 9 out of the 17 Monday Night Football games. I think the Mannings are going to pop on there. Is that right, or is it 10 times?
Well, it was 10. It was 10. Gotcha. So you take one away, but I think it was. I'm thinking it's not every week, but yeah, it was 10. I think to start the season. So obviously 9 more.
So,
by the way, did you guys notice who was healthy scratched yesterday for the Raiders?
I did not. Was that? I'm guessing you're going to tell me it's Keyshawn Nixon.
Keyshawn Nixon?
No, it was Cleveland Farrell.
Oh wow, interesting.
The number 4 overall pick just 2 years ago is already being healthy scratched.
Oh, for all you Clemson fans.
Bust.
That was weird. Didn't see that one coming. For all you Clemson fans who took exception to Perry Orth saying the Gamecocks defense isn't that far off from the Clemson defense, I get it. He knew that's exactly what you would do. You reacted exactly how he predicted, and we'll see this weekend, man. I mean, the game will tell us real quick, and I think even Gamecock fans are highly anticipating this matchup just to see if this defense, if you can feel confident that the defense is back after a couple of really disappointing years on that side of the ball. Patrick, I already see you shaking your head and saying that you think Perry went a little too far in his praise of the Carolina D.
Oh, I was talking about you saying Gamecock fans are like, well, what'd you say? They're interested to watch or excited to watch this game?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Gamecock Larry's not even predicting a win. I don't think there's as much excitement. I'm ready to move past this week.
God, you were in an awful mood.
25-year-olds, man.
Why does that put me? Why does that mean I'm in an awful mood?
Man, you can't. You enjoy college football season for everything you get, because in January or February, I wish we had football, and you're already moving past this week. Go sit in a chair
For the South Carolina game, yeah. I'm excited to watch Alabama, Florida.
You're in a bad mood this week.
Dude, I have said
your Washington football team stinks. You're unhappy about the quarterback. You were grumpy. You were a grumpy carrot this week. Just awful mood. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here.
It's respect.
Tired of your grumpiness. Tired of your grumpiness already.
I was the first person on the Georgia bandwagon, and I will say that for 2 months I've been saying they were going to win the national championship. I just think that team is ridiculously talented. And South Carolina talent level is not very close.
Grumpy.
No, not grumpy. I respect strong college football.
You're in an awful mood.
I respect good college football teams.
You know, I know something that would make everybody happy.
Now I'm grumpy.
Great. You should see the death stare Bill just exhibited on the live video stream. Oh,
I'm tempted to walk off after that. I'm tempted to walk off. Between the grumpiness and that,
maybe it's a good time to go back out to the Love Chevy phone lines where KC wanted to weigh in on that Manning cast from last night. Go ahead, KC.
Hey, how y'all doing this morning, fellas?
Doing well. You?
I'm all right. Man, you know how they Snoop Dogg go to the Southern Cal locker rooms before their games? They do their celebrities there. Somebody need to get Gamecock Larry to go to the Gamecock locker room before every game, every home game. I think we might not even lose no game. But but watching Peyton Manning and his brother and Ray Lewis last night, everybody always knew there was certain verbiage and you do your studying. And, that goes to show, I don't care if you all SEC, all ACC, all Big 12 going into the NFL. If you can't catch on to the verbiage and learn, and your IQ is just not there, you're not going to make it. And I think somebody just brought up maybe 5 minutes ago the dude for Clemson that got drafted by the Raiders, Farrell. That goes to show. He was a beast at Clemson, but when he got to the NFL, John Gruden is only going to take so much of stupidity, or you're not learning, or you're not serious, and you're not going to play. I might not be on the team the following year. And picking back on what y'all was saying about Brian Edwards, I don't think y'all probably mentioned earlier this morning about Tyson Williams. I was glad to see them play good, and that goes to show, some college coaches want you to go by their system, by since the coaches don't want to adapt and go by the talent that's on their team. And I think if a lot of coaches in college go by the talent that's off their team and come up with a system that works, that's what be successful. And I think this Georgia and South Carolina game, it's going to be more competitive than we think, but the team with the most talent is going to come out on top on the fourth quarter when fatigue comes in. And I don't think Georgia's going to win a national championship because I can't yet judge their quarterbacks when they play against competition. And that's all I got to say.
KC all over the map. Impressive. The first comparison, Snoop Dogg to Gamecock Larry. I think very fair. Very.
Can you imagine a conversation between the two of them? Wow.
For shizzle, Jim.
Yeah. They're gonna go pick up some grits at the Snooper Market. Yeah.
I think you just completely divided our listening audience, by the way, with your drop of the Applebee's song.
I don't think it was division.
Well,
I was going to say, where do you see the division?
Alan
I see a
says
few
you
people
play
say
that,
the
Jen. You got to do the dance. We just have somebody else on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line that said, who's this, Jacob that weighed in? Nope. I forget. It was somebody else that actually said it was perfect timing. Oh, that was Heath on the live chat, not Heath Klein. That was Heath W on the Facebook live chat that enjoyed that. Everybody else said they were throwing their phone or just going to boycott the show now, which is basically where we've gotten to in 2021, right? It's what we do.
Right,
You don't like something, oh, you're completely done with it. Emily's saying throw that young bum out of the studio, talking about Patrick and his attitude.
Can't do it.
This is what 25-year-olds do, and he is sitting at his house, so we can't throw him out of the studio, but we can cut his mic, or we can open it and have him explain why you're much more pleased if Zeb Nolan plays this week for the Gamecocks at quarterback. I think I have an insight to it now after hearing that bitter take to begin, but we'll get to that, and we'll see how much yelling you guys are going to do. I like this one from Brandon W. on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. Patrick and Bill need to go to couples counseling.
Sit on the couch together and hold hands.
He's already given up on it. I'm excited. I mean, it's not the best weekend of college
yeah,
as a whole.
I have, but I'm not bitter.
It's not the best weekend as a whole, but it's college football, and I'll be missing any college football come January. So I'll take everything I get this weekend. Florida, Alabama at 3:30. We talked about that, Patrick, before you came on a little bit. The line there, Circa Sports putting it out 15.5 is what Bama's favored by going into the Swamp.
803-404-6100. If you'd like to join, you can call or text 404-6100. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
This is Gamecock basketball head coach Frank Martin, and you're listening to 107.5 The Game, WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia.
Timing is everything in life. Jen just proved that with Applebee's. If you think this might be the time for you to take advantage of a hot housing market, I recommend you make one phone call today. 843-524-2404 is the number. Buford Lending is who you'll talk to, and you'll likely speak with Benji Getzy there, who's been running Buford Lending. 25 years of experience. Benji knows what he's doing, no matter what you're looking for. VA loan, FHA, USDA loans, conventional construction, renovation. You want a second mortgage right now. You're looking to refinance, whatever you're looking for. Buford Lending can help you find the best deal. I can tell you that from personal experience. I've been exploring the options in the housing market right now because I think it's the relatively responsible thing to do. I got the expanding family looking to see what our options might be. The numbers that I've seen from Buford Lending absolutely blown me away. And what really matters to me most in this situation is you got to have a lender you can trust, that you know is going to be there for you when you need it. And several times in the lending process, I've given Buford Lending a call and gotten exactly what I needed from Benji Getzy and his team. They've done it for me. I know they can do it for you as well. All Benji asks is that you just give them a chance to let them show you at Buford Lending exactly what they can do for you. 843-524-2404 is the number. Again, that's Buford Lending, 843-524-2404.
From the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center, Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. Shepherd's.
you guys talk about Clay Helton?
Not really. We mentioned it briefly. Just
So the most valuable member? Is that what you're saying, Alfonso? The most valuable asset that 107.5 has?
Clearly.
Worth $10 million a year?
I think he's. I was gonna say. I think he's saying you're the highest paid.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of Clay Helton, did y'all see what Navy did to their offensive court? I still haven't exactly figured this out.
And they fire him?
Did you see who fired him?
I did not.
The athletic director fired him.
So, Ken Niamatololo wasn't going to fire him, so he just went straight through him, huh?
Well, he's back.
I'm not real sure, but then they rehired him as a I don't know if he's an own the field role or what, but they reinstated him in a reduced role after the athletic director fired him.
Wow. Yeah, I saw somebody say, I think it might have been Joe Rogan or somebody, that Navy fired their offensive coordinator after a bad game against Air Force, but our actual military, no one gets fired when stuff goes wrong. Pretty amazing.
Story. It's not wrong.
Yeah.
He's now the QB coach there, Chad.
You will definitely enjoy watching Stephen A. I used to actually watch First Take when I was in college, and it was him and Skip. But now I don't watch any ESPN. I'd never watch ESPN unless a game's on.
ESPN is tuning in right now and saying Patrick Perrette will never work for us.
Yeah, don't even make me an offer. Not worth your time.
Yeah, I've worked with other people on the radio before that have said similar things, and it's turned out.
Did he say that?
Maybe not verbatim, sir, but.
So South Carolina had Rico Dowdle and Tyson Williams as running backs, Brian Edwards and Debo Samuel as wide. It was
and Shi Smith and Hayden Hurst, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm trying to think. All on the same team. When was 2018? Am I right on that? Was Tyson on that 2018 team? Is that right, Tim?
Sounds right.
Hayden Hurst wasn't, was he? He was drafted in 18.
He wasn't.
Sounds right.
Hayden Hurst and Shi Smith didn't overlap, I don't think.
No, Hurst was only here 1 year.
No, Hurst was playing at South Carolina more than 1 year, Bill.
Huh?
Said Hayden Hurst definitely played for South Carolina more than 1 year.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
3, I believe.
No, I think he only 2. I think he left after the Outback Bowl. Didn't he leave after that? Am I wrong?
His first year, he didn't do a dang thing.
He was tiny.
Oh, no, I'm in under Muschamp. I'm sorry. You're right. The first year under Spurrier in 2015. I'm sorry. I was comparing the talent that Muschamp had.
He was my next door neighbor for a year.
So the 2018 team.
Yeah, it was Tyson Williams that was only there for a year. And I was.
No, he was here 2 years, I think.
Remember, he went to BYU.
Yeah, but he was still at Carolina for 3 years. Or 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
North Carolina, South Carolina for 2 years.
Was it one of those that he had to sit out?
No, he played 2 years.
Yeah, he was here 2 years.
Oh, yeah, he didn't have to sit out because he went on the GI Bill. Wasn't that what it was?
Yeah, something like that. Let me go back here. Hold on. So that 2018 team.
No, he's not a rookie in the NFL, right?
Hold on. Let's just do it. Tim's got me checking too many things. Let's look at Tyson Williams for a second here.
Yeah, he played for BYU in 2019 because he was on that team that beat Tennessee.
Well, he also played in that game against Mississippi. That's kind of how I.
Yeah, that was his big game, right? Where Carolina had like 2 or 3. They had 3 backs with 100 yards that game.
He's not on BYU last year.
Yeah, COVID has screwed everybody's years up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so he was on South Carolina in 2017 and 2018.
Right. 19, it was BYU.
And then
was it practice squad, pretty much?
Yes. Tyler Algier was the running back for BYU last year. And I actually thought he was better than Tyson Williams.
Got it figured out.
Guys are up.
Hilarious trying to figure out exactly when Tyson Williams was with the Gamecocks, when he went to BYU, where he's been in the NFL. Last night as the starting running back for the Baltimore Ravens, and pretty productive early on, had a touchdown run, but it looked like towards the end of the game, they just had decided that Latavius Murray was going to be their guy. And Tyson Williams didn't get a lot of playing time towards the end. And in winning time, when his fellow former Gamecock, Brian Edwards, took over for the Raiders. 4 catches in the ballgame. All of them came within the last minute of regulation and then in overtime, including what looked like a walk-off winner as a touchdown that turned out to be a few inches short, and then an ultra-dramatic finish that the Raiders eventually pulled out and got the win in overtime, the only time they led in the ballgame last night. But, Bill, I think kind of the point of going back through this, and again, this is, to me, the very confusing legacy that Will Muschamp leaves at South Carolina, because his ultimate main issue, if you ask any Gamecock fan, is didn't develop enough players, right? And yet there are so many guys in the NFL right now that are thriving, and I guess you can kind of hold that against a college coach, right? I mean, that was the thing about Dean Smith. When I was growing up in the state of North Carolina, the only guy that could hold Michael Jordan under 30 points was Dean Smith. He didn't let him play enough or shoot enough, or it was his system and the whole thing. Certainly, I'm not meaning to compare Dean Smith to Will Muschamp in a successful college coaching sense, but from a sense of having players who go to the next level and then are clearly talented and produce. I mean, Deebo Samuel with 189 yards receiving, I think, from San Francisco in week number 1. Then you had Tyson Williams starting for the Ravens last night. Brian Edwards making the key catches for the Raiders in that ball game. You can go down the list. Hayden Hurst and the whole thing. So there were guys. There just weren't enough guys, or they didn't make key plays in key situations, or I don't know what it is to kind of close this book on Will Muschamp as he's on the other sideline this week for Georgia, taking on Shane Beamer and company in Athens on Saturday.
That 2018 team that I'm looking at right now, Joseph Charlton is a part of this list. So, but I don't count him on there, but he's on there. You have the 2018 team, and I'm not looking at offensive linemen too, by the way. I think Sedarius Hutchinson was a starter for the 2018 team.
Yeah.
Am I leaving anybody else on that offensive line? I don't know.
Yeah, Dennis Daly, Zach Bailey.
Okay, add those 3 on. Good Lord. Now
it actually only makes it worse.
that takes it to 8 offensive players who have. I mean, 3 of them are high draft picks: Shi Smith, Deebo Samuel, Brian Edwards. You got those 3 offensive linemen: Rico Dowdle and Tyson Williams. 8 offensive players on that team that have now done something in the NFL. Defensively, you had Javon Kinlaw, DJ Wanham, TJ Brunson, Keyshawn Nixon, J.C. Horn, Rashad Fenton, Ernest Jones, and Israel Mukwamo. Your entire secondary, almost. Nixon, Horn, Fenton. Fenton is not with the Chiefs anymore. Is that right? He was cut.
I didn't see that. I'll check for you.
I think Fenton was cut, but McQuamu, Ernest Jones. I mean, this is honestly why I say, or why I have believed that South Carolina does have more talent on that roster.
Shad Fenn was not cut.
Still
he's okay. All right.
He might have been cut, but he was re-signed and got 5 special team snaps.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. But that's also why I do believe that there is, and again, I'm not trying to sell anybody on this is the talent's there to win 8 or 9 games, but it's also why I talent-wise, I don't think South Carolina's in an awful spot. I mean, I do think Will Muschamp brought some talented players. Now, obviously, a complete disconnect there, trying to coach them up or develop them or whatever may have happened. But yeah, that 2018 team, again, 8 players defensively and 8 players offensively from a team that goes 7-5 and gets bludgeoned by Virginia in the Belk Bowl.
It's fascinating to me, man. And the way that we continue to see this and maybe change or evolve the way we look at the Muschamp era through the years is going to be fascinating as well. If these guys continue to produce and have really good NFL careers, I guess only time will tell there. Gamecock Larry was mentioning what Will Muschamp was doing. I think he's just pretty much their special teams coordinator. Now that Scott Strickland took a leave of absence there, not Scott Strickland, that's Scott Cochran, I believe. I meant to say the former Alabama strength and conditioning coach. But that's what we know as his role this week, right? As special teams guy. And Kirby Smart was asked about him yesterday and totally downplayed having Will Muschamp on the staff from any kind of inside information thing, as you would expect Kirby Smart to say. But this is an interesting spot for Gamecock players, too. I feel like we saw this from the other side of it several years ago, 5 years ago, when the Gamecocks went down to the swamp and played Florida, and the Florida players just lined up to give the Will Muschamp, or was that when he was that wasn't when he was it, Bill? That was when he was Carolina.
That was the year after when South Carolina went back down and lost, I think 20-7. It was kind of an ugly game and so forth and so on. I don't know if you're necessarily. I think to some extent you'll see some guys going over after the game to talk to him, but I don't think it's going to be like that. Number one, he's not the head coach, so he's not. I don't think it's going to be quite the same. Also, I don't know if, while I think players liked him, I don't know if the same vibe. I don't think guys hate him. I don't think like they're going to.
Didn't Nick Muse literally say he would die for Will Muschamp?
Bobby Bentley.
For him?
That was
Bobby Bentley.
So yeah, I mean,
but Bill, we've talked to Bill. I mean, Patrick was Bobby Bentley. We've talked to players though that are big fans. I mean, actually, let me put it this way: I haven't talked to a player that wasn't a big fan of Will Muschamp.
No, I don't think his problem was connecting with players. I don't think you're going to see the same scene that you saw at Florida. That's all I'm saying. I don't think it's going to be that. That was a wild. I mean, you never see what happened after South Carolina gets beat in the swamp, where it's like a wedding where the guy is just standing there and people are coming by to greet him and be like, "Hey, congratulations, hey, good job, yeah, thank you." I don't think it's going to be like that. Do I think that players will go up to him after the game and check on him? Yeah, I'm sure they will. But I would be a little surprised if it is the wedding-esque type reception
where there's a line of players going over to see Will Muschamp. But we'll see. Who knows? I will say, did you guys see
Nick Muse definitely did say that, by the way.
What happened with
it was when he said the fat dads on the couch thing.
Did you guys see what Jamie Robinson did over the weekend and how Florida State fans have handled that situation on the final play of the game?
Was he the one that blew it? Or one of the ones who blew
he
it?
He didn't necessarily blow it. Jamie Robinson is running next to, and I don't want to, this is not a knock on, I'm not trying to do it, but I did catch this yesterday. Jamie Robinson was running next to the wide receiver who went down and made a key block to a spring, the guy who caught the ball into the end zone. And Jamie Robinson, basically, when the guy caught the ball, not his guy, but Jamie Robinson basically jogged to the end zone. And a lot of Florida State fans, and even I saw some of their media were saying, if he'd have hustled and sprinted, he could have been the guy that saved the touchdown. So he is not very well liked. I did see he was on the start. He was listed as a starter for this weekend's game that they have.
Yeah, he's number 10. I'm watching it now. Yeah, he definitely He definitely probably could have made the tackle.
Definitely, probably.
Yeah.
We're out to the Love Chevy phone
there is
lines. Jay would like to weigh in this morning on Gamecock football. Go ahead, Jay.
Definitely probably could have.
Hey, guys. My question is about the offensive line. We've watched two games where they just struggle, whether it be pass protection, run block. This team this line last year, blocked surprisingly well for our running game. Now, with all the running back talent we've got, we do not seem to be able to run in between the tackles. But yet, when we put our fourth guy in, I can't remember his name now, McDowell, he seems to be able to get to the edge, and we seem to really be able to do things once we get to the edge. What's the difference in this line compared to last year? Is it just the new scheme? And also the discipline with this team. We're playing East Carolina. It seemed to be more motivated in that game than it seems like we were playing at the Swamp or at Georgia. It just seems like we get overhyped. And I'm not saying that this coach is not the type of coach to deal with that, but it seems like we've got a lot more rah now than the discipline. So I just want to get your take on that.
Bill, why don't you go ahead?
I rewatched a lot of the game yesterday. I think the run game is a combination of a lot of things, to be honest. One, I think that they've got to be more. I do think Mike Bobo had a very good run game scheme. I think it was more creative. I know a lot of people didn't like it. Guys, I go back to December, and I'll continue to harp on this for a little bit, but I said at that time, I knew what I was going to get with Mike Bobo, and that was going to be a pretty good run game if he stayed on as offensive coordinator. I didn't know what the passing game was going to be. In watching the last 2 weeks, I don't think the run game scheme, the run game idea is very good. I think that's one. Number two, behind that, what both Eastern Illinois and East Carolina did was basically East Carolina put, as I watched yesterday, they would put three defensive linemen on one side and then basically shoot their middle linebackers into the gaps up the middle. And it's just as, and Shane Beamer said it, I think Sunday night. Right now, they're sending more guys than South Carolina can block. Well, that's fine. That goes to, I think, somebody's question when we had Perry Orthon. You've got to make adjustments. You've got to throw screens. You've got to get the ball in the perimeter. And what that caller just asked is a good point. They did make an adjustment in the second half, and they started running to the perimeter. And you saw it start to have success. Now, I'll go back. Another issue. Somewhere in here, there are some serious miscommunications between or scheme. I'm not sure because, for example, there's a play in the third quarter. Kevin Harris comes in and he bounces it to the left and picks up about 7 yards, and it becomes 2nd and 3. And South Carolina goes a little tempo. It's early in the third. I think I said second quarter. It's early in the third quarter. South Carolina kind of gets to the offensive line or gets lined up. They don't really huddle. They kind of go a little bit more up tempo. They line up. They run almost the same play. And I'm watching Jalen Nichols, number 52. And if you watch him, he comes out of his stance and takes a step backwards like he thinks it's a pass play. And the reason I notice this is because the defensive line hits him, and he flies into the backfield into Kevin Harris, and Kevin Harris ends up losing 5 yards. And you see Jalen Nichols turn around like, hey, what was the call? I thought we were running a pass play there. And I think there's some scheme issues. You look at this week in pass protection. There's two specific plays where Dylan Wanham, there's a linebacker on the edge and a defensive lineman just inside of Dylan Wanham, and Dylan Wanham tries to block down, and the linebacker just runs free. I could have done the same job. So I don't necessarily blame Dylan Wanham. I think there's something scheme-wise there that is not correct, that they've got to get fixed. And then you've also got to call some different plays here. One other thing I wonder, and I don't know if you two rewatched the game. I thought about this last night listening to Peyton Manning talk about reading defenses. And I'm going to try and go back today and rewatch a little bit of the game just to see if I'm right. I don't remember Zeb Nolan audibly. Does anybody remember an audible? Like Nope. Getting to the line of scrimmage and changing the play? I don't think I've seen that. And I could be wrong. It's not something I thought about until late last night, listening to Peyton Manning talk about reading coverages and how he's trying to audible. And then Ray Lewis was talking about how he's trying to audible the defense and how it's a chess match back and forth.
Right. That's a great question.
No, That's a great question.
Well, and that's
I think that's a great question.
That's why it's great to have Perry on, right? We asked Perry the year after he was done in school, right? How many times, what percentage wise did he go up to the line of scrimmage in Kurt Roper's offense where he wasn't allowed to audible and know that the play wasn't going to work just based on what he was seeing on the defense? And I think he told us 60% of the time. And that could very well be the case with a first-year offensive coordinator and some inexperienced guys or unproven guys on the outside and I'd say relatively experienced offensive line, but not in this offense.
Tim, I think one thing that's kind of interesting, and I don't know if there's anything to back this up. This is just you and I in particular, had years of watching Steve Spurrier run his offense where you would literally see Steven Garcia, Connor Shaw, Dylan Thompson go to the line, look over at Spurrier, and Spurrier would either give him we got it, go ahead with that play, or he would look at the guy next to him and go, no, switch to this play.
I love the floppy hand wave.
Need a break.
Yeah, you got it. Go ahead. We got this play.
With the massive head nod, like ticks, like, oh yeah, check in my head. We got it. Let's go. Yeah, and it's totally different now. I want to hear the rest of that thought, Bill, but we're running out of time. We need to take a quick break. It's the early game here on 107.5 The Game.
College football playoffs are here.
Sometime, crew is up against it. The breaks are beating the boys. Tell them to get out there and give it all they got.
Guys, I hope you can be where I was last night. Monday Night Football in the recliner, just being thoroughly entertained for football season. If you need a new recliner, maybe your situation isn't ideal, I recommend you get out to Daniel's Fine Furniture, bedding out near the airport. And when I walked in Daniel's the other day, you look to the left, you see a dining room set, and then right in front of me, I saw a bedroom suit. Maybe they call it a suit instead of set. I'm not a furniture expert. They're the furniture experts over there at Daniel's. And then to the right, I know that was my sweet spot over there. That was all the recliners. Like 50 plus recliners, the leather gallery over there with a hardwood floor. And I just went and found the most comfortable one and just hung out there for about 15 minutes. That's what they want you to do. When you go to Daniel's Fine Furniture and Bedding in West Columbia, right near the airport, they're going to treat you much differently than a different furniture store. You're not some kind of big box store where you're a nameless, faceless, just a number customer. They want you to be part of the family. Daniel and June Clark have been doing this for 25 years right here in the Midlands. They understand that they are different. They want to show you that they are different. They'll sell you something right off the floor, for instance. And if you live within 20 miles of the store, deliver it for free. It's just that simple when it comes to Daniel's, where their specialty is that motion furniture with the recliners, the reclining sofas, and love seats. Go check them out and improve your comfort level at your home, especially during this football season. Daniel's Fine Furniture, where they're known for their 3 Bs, the best furniture, the best service, and the best price. It's at 3911 Edmond Highway at the back of the airport. When it's time to save, it's time for Daniel's Fine Furniture and Bedding. I think it's the chair that's making you bitter, Patrick. That's what it is. It's too comfortable.
What am I bitter about?
I don't care about the Georgia game. Let's move past it. It's Tuesday. I'm already ready to fast forward past Saturday.
I tweeted that on like Saturday night. I said, I know everybody's ready to fast forward past this weekend, but Kentucky's actually really good too. People agreed with me. That wasn't even a bitter statement.
So now you're moving past the next 2 Saturdays? Is that what you're doing?
I'm not moving past anything. If you think South Carolina is going to get demolished on Saturday, which I'm in that camp, you're not overly excited for the game.
Mark, I hear you.
Ty, you got to remember this, or who said that? No, Rodney, this isn't his first offensive coordinator job. He was offensive coordinator at Tennessee Tech, and he was, I think, offensive coordinator. I was told over the weekend
No, he's the head coach at Tennessee Tech, where he ran the offense. But he was, I think, offensive coordinator East Tennessee, maybe Tennessee.
I think he was the offense. Yeah, he was the offensive coordinator at Temple from 2013 to 2015.
There you
go. So it's not his first job. I do think I was told over the weekend by a high school coach I trust, who I believe, that he said he went back and looked at the offense he ran at Temple, and it was more of a college offense. And Joe Brady does not run a college offense coming from the Saints. And the 1 year he was at LSU, there was a lot of pro concepts because he had a great quarterback and 4 incredible wide receivers. And the guy that I talked to thinks that Satterfield has gone to more pro concepts than he did the college style offense he ran at Temple with PJ Walker. He said they don't really look the same, and that the Joe Brady influence isn't great for everybody. And this might be an instance where Satterfield's initial offense, he might need to stick with that and go to more of what Lincoln Riley and some of the stuff's doing, as opposed to the Joe Brady scheme, which is more NFL type stuff with reads and transitions. Because you just don't have the quarterback to do that.
Will we?
In the future, if you recruit one, but I mean that's real hard to do. I mean,
so you're saying that you're including Doty in that we don't have one at this point.
Correct.
I don't. What I was told is that Doty, you could develop, but like even if Doty was playing right now, the stuff that they're asking him to do is really, really difficult. Like it's just Joe Burrow could do it. He ended up being a first round pick, but he also had 4 incredible wide receivers that.
Mm-hmm.
3. So where were you, Bill? Where can I get you right back to finish your thought?
I was just going to finish about the audibling stuff, about if they were able to audible with.
Gotcha.
I really was just going to finish it with Marcus Satterfield being in the booth, and I think somebody was going to kind of made my point for me, and you can kind of wrap it up.
Yeah, that text.
Eric,
Eric?
about running over, no time to audible. I was going to say that as well, just about when you huddle, then you get to the line, then you look over everything. It's hard.
Ty's all over the place. Ty, what does that even mean? The picture of depression. I'm in a good mood. I'm just being honest. I think Georgia's 32 points better than South Carolina.
It's the mustache. The mustache gives off a.
I was actually just going to say that.
I think it's the mustache gives off a vibe.
It's the hoodie in the summer, man. The hoodie in the summer.
Oh.
That's what it is for me.
I'm in my bedroom.
Back like he's kind of slumped.
I'm about to go to bed. I worked 12 hours before this show started.
So, and actually, like, how are you supposed to look on a live video feed for a radio show? Are you supposed to be like up and dancing and exercising right now?
Yeah, exactly.
Supposed to be on your Peloton?
It's not. It's just the mustache gives off a very serious.
I think it gives off a very fun, relaxed vibe.
Who's the funniest person that ever had a mustache?
A lot of people that are Charlie Chaplin. A lot of people that are
Richard
funny.
Pryor.
Richard Pryor. Yeah.
All right, give me somebody new because I agree with those. The mustache was popular in the 70s.
Dave Chappelle.
Ted Lasso.
Did Dave Chappelle?
Ted Lasso. Great. I don't know.
Yeah,
who'd you say?
I don't know if he is. He said Ted Lasso.
Borat, the guy from Parks and Rec. What's his face?
Oh, that guy's good. Ron Swanson. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of funny people have mustaches.
But even then,
last text on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line of the day. Eric says, I was there in Greenville, thought the plays were coming in late for the Gamecock offense. Zeb was running over, getting play calls, and then huddled. No time to audible in some cases. Was ECU stealing signals? That's a good observation, Bill. Kind of goes to your point, right?
Yeah, I just wonder about that. When you huddle, getting to the line of scrimmage, it's tough. And then with Satterfield being in the booth, he's not right there. I know other teams do it, so it's not like this is impossible, but it's just something I wonder about. Now he's got to relay what he wants to switch to down to the sideline. The guy on the sideline's got to signal it in. I don't know. Some guys just see it better from the booth, from the top. But I wonder if Satterfield being on the field, if he can see something a little bit quicker, and he's the one that's able to relay. They're just little things. It's little things, and again, we'll continue to see the development of this offense this weekend against a high level defense.
Patrick, how you feeling over there?
I'm in a great mood. Sorry, a little bit of honesty makes everyone think I'm bitter, but now I am bitter.
It's the mustache. I'm telling you, the mustache. By the way,
Bill says, "Oh, we're done. We're out of time. See you guys tomorrow."
You're up, buddy.
The girls are the Gant girls. Chelsea and Madison. Some of the things they do at Patrick.
Your Ron Swanson. I forget the guy's actual name, but your Ron Swanson. But Ron Swanson played a grumpy guy on television.
It's funny though.
He wasn't funny because he was grumpy and sarcastic and unhappy with everybody.
That is very true. That was a good one, Steve Harvey. Nice work, Troy. DC, thanks for checking us out, man. Ty, it sounds like you might be projecting, sir. It sounds like you might be projecting.
A lot of comedians are depressed, but unrelated.
Hey, thanks, Steven. Appreciate it, man. Except the last shot. So rude. But pretty hilarious.
Yeah, man. It's been a breeze for me the last 18 months. Doing this for the kindness of my heart.
We're here for you.
He's going to partly do it to a big gig, Patrick.
Except he's only 25. He can't be a grumpy old man yet. That's just me and Bill.
True.
Anthony, appreciate it. See you guys again tomorrow morning. We'll see what kind of mood we show up in. We'll have plenty of comments to discuss.